Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, where you are. And this is FAD University for Women, Project Management, BUSS 422. I am your teacher, Muhammad Saeed Mahjoub. How are you, everyone? Hope you are well and good. Can you hear me or not? Thank you, Munaf. Alhamdulillah. Hope you are well and good. Okay. Today, inshallah, we will start our online sessions for 2 weeks, this week and next week, inshallah. Today, we will concentrate our discussion about the project planning. From the project life cycle, we know that the project passes through 5 phases or 5 stages: the initiation, the organizing, and planning, execution, monitor and control, and the last is termination. Today, inshallah, we'll concentrate our study about the second phase, which is project planning. After we finish the first phase, which is the project initiation, we selected a project, we selected the project manager, and also we select what is the most appropriate project organization. Now we need to start to plan for our project. Today, inshallah, we are going to talk about 3 parts related to project planning. We'll start with project activity planning, how we can plan for the activities that is required to conduct and implement the project. Second, we are going to plan for the budget, the cost estimate of the project, and we know that the budget is one of the 3 triangle ion objectives or constraints of the project: scope, budget, cost. And we will conclude today with the project scheduling, the time estimate of the project, and this is the 3rd pillar of the project objectives and constraints. So projects are something temporary and unique. That means the activities required to implement it in order to conduct the project and create the project should be also unique. They may not be unique in terms of the nature of each activity, but they be unique in the term of how they be planned and organized and implemented. And it will be unique because it will end up with a unique end over, either a product or a service or a result. That makes the project unique. And it's temporary. That means these activities should start with one activity and should end with an ending activity. And after the last activity, we will deliver the project. That means we will create the product or the service or the result that we are aiming to produce or to provide to the customer. And this is why the uniqueness of the project planning. Whenever we have a new project, we have to do a project plan. If this project is a routine project that we are always doing the same project, so for example, if I am working in a bakery, I am being requested to do a wedding cake. This wedding cake will be different at each time there is a request. But the way that I am cooking the wedding cake will be the same. I will mix the ingredients, I will put the base of the cake in the oven, then wait, then put the base, put the decoration, and so on. But it can be different in terms of the size of the cake and the flavor of the cake. The activities, yes, they look the same. I will do the same activities, but still it will result with a different type of a cake, because each customer may request a different cake in terms of the flavor, in terms of the decoration, in terms of the layers. One, they may want only 2 layers of the wedding cake. Another groom and bride, they may want 5 layers of the cake. One, they want it with a vanilla flavor. Another bride and groom, they may want it with a chocolate flavor. That makes every time I need to have a new plan for the new request for a new cake. Planning is a very important phase. Without planning, I cannot implement and execute the activities. And we know that planning is the first function in the managerial functions. We have to plan. So we know the project handover, scope, what we are going to produce, what we are going to provide, and now we want to plan for the activities that we would like to do in order to create that project. طيب أنا هعيد الكلام بس بصورة سريعة. احنا قلنا المشاريع دائما هي مشاريع مؤقتة ومشاريع فريدة يونيك، لأنه كل مشروع بيختلف عن المشروع الثاني من خلال نطاق المشروع أو الهدف من المشروع اللي هو السكوب of the project. حتى لو أنا كنت بعمل في مخبز زي ما ذكرت في المثال، وفي المخبز أنا بحتاج إنه أنا أصنع كيك أو تورتة عرس مثلا. كل ما يجيني عرسان بروم اند برايد بيطلبوا كيكة بطريقة مختلفة، يعني بيطلبوا كيكة بنكهة مختلفة. في ناس بيطلبوها عايزين فانيليا، في ناس بيطلبوها عايزين شوكولاتة، في ناس بيطلبوها عايزين بالفراولة. إذا كل عرسان بيكون الكيكة بتاعتهم مختلفة. يا ريت بس نقفل الصوت، يعني أي زول بيخش يا ريت خلي الصوت مقفول لو سمحت، عشان بس بيكون الإزعاج من الباك جراوند اللي انتوا فيه. فبالتالي معناها أي كيكة بتكون مختلفة عن الثانية. صح إحنا النشاطات اللي بنعملها عشان نعمل الكيكة هي واحدة، بتخلط المقادير، بتعجن الكيكة، بتحطها في الفرن، بتطلعها من الفرن، بعدين بتعمل لها الديكوريشن بتاعها. لكن كل كيكة مختلفة، لأنه كل كيكة واحدة بتكون زي ما قلنا نكهتها مختلفة، معناها ممكن تكون المكونات حتكون مختلفة، الديكوريشن حيكون مختلف، طبقاتها بتكون مختلفة، وده بخلي التخطيط لكل كيكة بيكون مختلف من الثاني. طبعا لو أنا بعمل كيك طوالي بيكون المسألة بالنسبة لي سهلة، لكن لو مشروع لأول مرة أعمله ما عملته قبل كده ممكن أنا أحتاج وقت عشان أعمل. معلش بس يا جماعة ممكن نقفل الصوت لا فاتحين المايك بتاعهم، يا ريت اقفلوا المايك بس لو سمحتوا. اوكي جود. طيب now we will focus on the phase of planning, and we will concentrate our discussion today about 3 planning aspects. The first is how we plan for the activities required to do and create the project. Second, how we can do a plan for the budget, which is the cost. The third, how we can do a plan for the time, which is the schedule. Right. I need to say something before I move forward. All the details are in the reference, and I am following the reference. And the main source of information that you need to rely on is the reference. Okay. So we'll start with this chapter, which is chapter 3, project activity planning and risk planning. We will concentrate on the project activity planning, the first part, from page 75 to page 83. So, and I know we don't have much time to go in details of every bit and piece of the reference. So I will give you an idea, overall idea about what you are going to read in the reference. I will try to explain the overall idea about the general points in the reference, but you need to go back and to study each point in detail from the reference. In the reference, there are many examples. I provide examples also as well as I can during the lesson because we would like to complete we would like to complete the 3 topics today. And the last topic in particular, we have a practice on that. So I avail the last 2 hours for the last topic, the schedule, project schedule. The first 2 hours, inshallah, we will concentrate on the project activity planning and the project budgeting. The last 2 hours, these are the most important because there is a practical workout problem and example in the project scheduling, and we will do it inshallah step by step. So I would like to avail more time for that. Right. Project activity planning. So in this part, we will try to learn together how we can transit from what we call the project charter to a project plan. So the project charter, that what you developed in your assignment. If you remember, I asked you to develop a project proposal, which it will be translated to a project charter. So after the first phase, which is the project initiation, the deliverable of that phase, as we explained in our earlier videos, it's the project charter. The project charter هي أوراق المشروع باللغة العربية. So the project charter provides the concept about the project. So I will give you an idea about what the components of the project charter, and this will be your next assignment to deliver the project charter according to your project proposal that you provided. Then from this project charter, we need to develop a project plan. So project plan is a more detailed document about how the project will be implemented. خطط المشروع هي الحاجة التفصيلية اللي بتورينا كيف المشروع هيتم in how. Then we're going to summarize the planning process in the project management. How the project is planned. We'll start with the first step, which is the project launch meeting. اجتماع الانطلاقة. This project launch meeting is the first step in the project plan, in which the senior managers, the general manager, the department manager, the project management office leader, they invite all the corresponding departments, كل الأقسام المعنية, to a meeting, providing them with the scope of the meeting, and then take their commitment toward the project completion and how the work will be coordinated between them and what is the responsibility of each department. Then they let each department to plan their part. كل قسم بعد كده هيعمل plan خطة للأجزاء that he is responsible to conduct from the project. Last, we will identify the key components of the project planning process, and we will explain one of the techniques that used in the project planning, which is the work breakdown structure. When we define the project management is the tools and techniques. Project management is about tools and techniques. And today, inshallah, we are concentrating about knowing 6 tools and techniques, inshallah, in the 4 hours. We will know 6 tools and techniques. Okay, these 6 tools and techniques will be distributed among the project activity planning, the project budgeting, the project scheduling. So in the project activity planning, the tool that we will use in order to identify the project activities is the work breakdown structure, and inshallah we'll see how we can implement the work breakdown structure using a very simple steps. This part, we have 3 main components. The first is the introduction of the project planning. So we know what is project planning, why it's important to do a project planning, and what is the link between the project planning and the rest phases of the project. Second, we will go through the project planning process, starting from the launch meeting, which is the first phase or first step in the project planning, where the senior manager will invite all the corresponding parties, departments, individuals that may be responsible or contribute in creating and implementing the project activities, until we reach the composite of the full project plan. until we reach the last step, which is a composite of a full project plan. So we'll see what are the key planning components, and we will talk about the work breakdown structure in particular. For this part, we have these keywords, inshallah, when we go through the lesson. One by one, each key term will be clear to you. The first is the project charter, as I mentioned. This is the first document that is prepared by the project, which is a document defining the project activities, the stakeholder, the high-level requirements, what we are going to do, and preliminary in estimation, approximating the time required to implement the project and the budget that required to implement the project. فده بنسميه ورق المشروع أو تعريف المشروع البروجكت تشارتر. بس هو بعرف الأشياء الأساسية، أهداف المشروع، أصحاب المصلحة، شنو الأشياء الأساسية المطلوبة في المشروع، تقدير للفترة الزمنية اللي حياخدها المشروع، وأيضا تقدير للميزانية اللي هيتكلفها على المشروع. Then the project plan, and this is what we are going to develop in more details, which is the comprehensive plan outlining all the project activities. So each activity that needed to produce the project and implement the project, the timelines, when to do it, the resources, which type of resources, human resources, physical resources, and these resources will be transformed into budget, which is the monetary value. We know that if we would like to hire an employee, we have to pay wage for the employee. If you would like to buy a machinery, we have to pay for the machinery. If we need any material, okay, we need to pay for that material. So any resources required to do the jobs and the activities, it will be translated into monetary value. And the deliverables, what are the end over deliverables, the outcomes. معلش يا جماعة، بس ممكن الناس أو بتخش تقفل الصوت، يعني please يعني make sure that your mic is mute. يعني if you were in a very quiet area, we wasn't being disrupted. لكن بس we are listening to your surrounding noise. So please make sure that your mic is closed عشان to not disturb anyone during the lesson. Okay, Ihsan, please close your mic. Ihsan. Mute your mic, Ihsan, please. إحسان آدم please mute your mic. إحسان ممكن تقفل الميكروفون لو سمحتي بس معلش.
Okay.
Please. طيب the third key term which is the planning process. We'll see what are the steps we have to adopt in order to transit the project charter and will initial conceptualization idea about the project into an actual plan.
أو 45 دقيقة إلا لو دخلت ثاني 45 دقيقة.
يا جماعة بس معلش ممكن يعني تقفل المايك تسابيح، احنا سامعين الونسة كلها بتحكي 45 دقيقة وساعتين والغدا والعشاء. معلش يا جماعة يعني بس يعني be committed شوية كده responsible يعني when you enter please mute your mic يعني. طيب so we talk about the planning process. What are the steps that we will going to transit the conceptualization, the idea of the project, the high level requirements into a specific actionable plan. Then we'll talk about the launch meeting, which is the initial meeting, as I told you in a while, that aligning all the stakeholders, the department, the responsible people, and discuss the project objective and timelines, when it should be finished, what are the activities required, and the coordination needed between the different stakeholders. The last keywords, we will talk about the work breakdown structure, which is the tool that we are going to use in order to identify the activities that are required to do the project. So we abbreviate it as WBS, work breakdown structure. It's the hierarchical decomposition, like the هيكلة of the project deliverables, starting from the high requirements, high level requirements, until we reach the lowest level in the project activities. So why project planning or project activity planning? So Project activity planning, it's a process. That means we have to follow a certain step. And please remember this, everything about project, why project is coming to be easier nowadays. Projects getting to be complex, that is for absolute. المشاريع بقت معقدة because projects now need many requirements. يعني if we look at the project for a mobile, for example. Now a mobile, it's not only a mobile for calling and texting. Mobile, it's an office. Mobile, it's a multimedia, it's a camera, it's everything. So we need a collaboration of different disciplinaries in order to produce this mobile. So it's a very complex. Car, nowadays we have electrical cars. So these electrical cars combine the mechanics, the electrical knowledge. So it's getting complex. But in fact, that projects is referred to processes, refers to procedures, refers to techniques, tools. These what make projects easier to implement nowadays because they've been developed many tools and techniques. الأدوات والتقنيات اتطوروها الناس خلت المشاريع تكون سهلة في إدارتها مع العلم إن المشاريع كانت معقدة في شكل المتطلبات بتاعتها. So what is the project activity? It's the process, the same as any function within the project management. To do what? To define and organize all the tasks and activities required to achieve a project objectives, ensuring a clear roadmap for execution. معناها هي الطريق مش كده. So this is the way that we have to follow in order to reach the project. Think about any project. Okay, think about making a cup of tea. It's a project. Think about making a cake. It's a project. Think about studying for the exam. It's a project. So you have to do steps, to do it in the steps. How to do a cup of tea. There is a steps. These steps are the actions, the activities. How to study for the exam. There is a steps. And each step and activity, it's assigned with a timeline when I have to do it. It's assigned with resources. So even if I would like to read, I need resources. I need the book, the reference. I need pen, I need paper to study. If I would like to make a cup of tea, I need resources. I need tea, I need water, I need kettle, I need cup, I need spoon. So the project is like this. We need to think about how we can conduct the project, implement it using an activity steps. And each activity requires resources. Each activity requires someone responsible to do it. Each activity will be done in a certain particular time. But the activities are interrelated. So for example, when you are doing a cup of tea, كوباية شاي, you cannot put the tea without boiling the water. Steps. I cannot boil the water without putting the water. Why you boil an empty kettle? هتغلي كافيتيرا فاضية ليه؟ ملايين you have to put the water first. So putting the water is an activity. Now boiling the water is another activity. Heating the kettle is an activity. So this activity just comes in sequential manner. Some of them comes in parallel manner. They can do concurrently. لما نقول concurrently, that means you are doing them on the same time. بالتوازي. أو بالتوالي, one after the other. Normally, the logic thing is the sequential technicalities اللي هو بيسميها التتابعية المنطقية. ودي بتعتمد على الفنيات. Each project has a technical sequence, logic sequence. Each project has a technical logic sequence. Depends on the project itself. So I cannot put the base of the cake in the oven before mixing the ingredients. لو ما خلطت المكونات ما هتحط الكيكة في الفرن. ده اللوجيك, technical logic. So that's why when we talk about the project manager, he has to acquire a credibility in the technical part of the project. لازم يكون عنده معرفة تقنية بالمشروع. Why project planning? طيب إذا كان دي الخطة اللي هنمشي عليها. We need to ensure that all the activities are structured. When we say structured, how it related to each other. مهيكلة معناها علاقتها ببعض شنو. Each activity is related to another activity. Some activities come after an activity. Some activity before an activity. This we call it precedence logic relationship. Precedence logic relationship. العلاقة التتابعية. So precedence logic relationship will tell you which project is the preceder, شنو activity الأولى, which project is the successor, الاكتيفيتي الثانيه اللاحقه والسابقه. preceder يعني السابقه والsuccessor يعني اللاحقه. So this structure, it will be clear when I do a project activity planning. I will see what are the resources required and when it's required. It's very important. احنا قلنا each activity requires the resources. As a project manager, one of my responsibility to acquire the resources, to make available of the resources. And this is what we call it allocation of the resources. In the project management or in management, we call it allocation of the resources. اللي هو توفير الموارد توزيع الموارد. So in order to know which resource is required on which time, so I need to know the project activities, structure and timeline. When I do this, we know that projects are affected by risk. Risk is uncertainty, and we talk about uncertainty in the first topic. Because when we looking forward in the future, we are not sure about the future. There is uncertainty remote. So this uncertainty, in order to overcome it, we have to identify the activities in the best way. And that's why we need to have a clear expectations about the future. And this cannot be fulfilled until we plan for our roadmap, the activities that required for the jobs for the project. لو ما خططت كويس ما حقدر يكون عندي توقع ممتاز للمستقبل، اصلا هو غامض. It provides a framework of monitoring. Why monitoring? If I would like to make sure that every step is conducted very well and each milestone, big milestone, is achieved. I cannot do this if I don't have a plan. If you remember in the principle of management, planning and controlling are interrelated, are the Siamese twins of the management, التوأم السيامي. We cannot talk about planning without controlling. Controlling is we need to make sure that the plan is conducted and the project is implemented effectively. So without a plan, I cannot know what to monitor. Monitor is about checking, comparing. Checking, that means what I did actually at that particular period of time. And then I will check it with the plan. So if I did what was expected, so I am in the right direction, I will go forward. If there is any deviation, I didn't complete all the required tasks, there is something wrong, I have to do a corrective action. أعمل إجراء تصحيحي. فالمراقبة والتحكم أساسا عملية التقييم، أقيم الأداء اللي أنا عملته، والمقارنة أقارنه بالأداء المفروض أنا أعمله. فإذا قدرت عملت المقارنة حقدر أعرف إذا أنا كملت كل النشاطات المطلوبة ولا لا. إذا كملتها that means I did well, I move forward. إذا ما كملتها معناه I need to do a corrective action، إجراء تصحيح. طيب. So this is the importance of the project activity planning. So it's a foundation of success, أساس النجاح. So I will see what my steps in order to achieve the projects. It will be used to allocate the resource efficiently, so I know what resources needed at which particular time for which activity. I will minimize the risk, as I mentioned, because when I plan, I reduce the uncertainty because I have clear expectations about in the future. It's also improve the communication because it's a mean for monitoring the project. هي أداة من أدوات مراقبة المشروع. Project planning is transition. Transition معناه تحويل from the project charter that you developed in your assignment. If you remember your assignment, I asked you to do a project proposal or a project charter. It was composite of the main information about the project. So this is what initially approved by the authorizations, who are the senior management. So they approve this project. After we select the project, we try to write a brief about this project. Okay, I will talk about the components in a while. So this only a brief, a general requirements, الحاجات العامة. I need to do what? I need to transform this brief high-level requirements into a detailed action plan. خطة تفصيلية. So I need to see how I can produce that product, how I can deliver that service, how I can do that project. So this is the project plan. So the project plan is the detailed guide for what to do, how to do it, what resources required, who will do it, when to do it. دي الخطة. الخطة ماذا سأفعل؟ كيف سأفعل؟ ما هي الموارد التي أحتاجها؟ من المسؤول؟ ومتى سيتم؟ دي خطة. أي خطة في العالم معناها تايم stage time plan. When I say a plan, that means what to do in a time. What to do required resources. So I would like to identify the resources, and this will be the part of the budgeting. So, for example, if I develop a project in Sudan, I will start with drafting the project charter. That's what you did in your first assignment. So a broad outline. Then I will go in more depth how I can define the details, guideline details required to implement that project. So the scope, what I would like to do. So for example, I would like to build a factory. عايز أبني مصنع. So this factory, I know the factory is in this area. The factory is, for example, dairy milk factory, مصنع ألبان. So I know what is the area, what is the size, what is the design of the factory. But I need now to go in details how this factory will be implemented from the first step. Now there is an empty ground, أرض فاضية, empty land. I need to build the factory. So I have to do a plan. So from the project outline, I will need to go to the project plan. So look at this diagram. Okay. So this chart will provide you how the project charter will be translated. So I have a project charter. I have initial authorization. That means project charter is approved, which provide a broad objectives. Now I will go for detailed planning. I will divide each requirement into a small items, steps. Okay, this will help me for execution and monitoring the project. So this will be the project plan. So what are the components of the project charter? We already did this project charter before in your assignment. So I have the statement of work. What are the deliverables? What is the project scope? What is the project about? This project is about building a factory. Okay, this factory. What is the size of the factory? What is the design of the factory? What is the factory is about? So I would like to provide the business case. Why this project is selected? If you remember, when we go to the project selection, we selected a project. Why we select that project? So we adopt a selecting models, subjective, qualitative, or quantitative model until you reach this is my project. Each project will have assumptions. Assumptions, they are the budget and the time. Approximately how much time it will be availed to the project. How much cost budget it will be availed to the project. What are the high level risks? What I'm expecting that the project will face in the future. Very important. So maybe there will be an increase in the prices of the material. هيكون في زيادة في الأسعار. Maybe the employees will not be available, the labor. I cannot find a very high qualified contractor, محلية مقاول كويس to build the factory. Okay, then I will identify the major stakeholder. The stakeholder who are involved in producing this project. Which department in my company will be participated in producing this project? منو من الأقسام؟ لأنه project is not a one disciplinary activity. ما نشاط بيقوم به جهة واحدة. It's a multidisciplinary اللي هو جهات متعددة. متطلب كفاءات متعددة، معارف متعددة. That's why it requires the contribution and coordination between different stakeholders. So they have to be identified in the project charter. So this is the project chart. And we developed the project charter in your first assignment. So this project charter it will be approved, okay, by whom? By the senior manager or the project management office. So now it's approved. We need to go for detailed planning for this project charter. So the scope of the project, the high level requirements, I need to go in details. Which the first step, which is the next step, which is the third step by step, until I complete all the project. So in order to go with the detailed plan, break down all the high level requirements into smaller steps. تمام؟ أي حاجة عامة أخدها في تفاصيل صغيرة. I will use what we call the work breakdown structure. This is the technique. Inshallah, we're going to practice this in a while. So I will organize, break down all of the general requirements. Think about the cake. Until you end up with the cake, what you have to do. So the cake is the high level. But in order to do the cake, I have first of all to mix the dry ingredients. مش بتعملوا كده؟ بتخلطوا المكونات الناشفة أول. Then I will mix the liquid ingredients. تخلطوا المكونات اللينة، البيض مع اللبن مع ما أعرف شو. Then you will blend them together. صح؟ Then you will put it in the oven. So دي العملية الأولى البيس creation، دي عملية تكوين القاعدة. نفس الديكوريشن. السكند هاي ليفل requirements in the decoration اللي هو اللي هتمسحوا بيها الكيكه دي، بيسموهاش انتوا الكريمه. الكريمه والحاجات اللي بيتعمل بها الديكور، معارف ورود وشنو نكهات. This is the second high level. So the cake can be divided into two main parts. The first part is the base. The second is the decoration. هاجي امسك الفيرست part البيس. The dry ingredient, the liquid ingredient. Then the oven. اخلط المكونات الناشفه السائله احطها في الفرن. اجي للديكوريشن. تمام، هقسمه، هعمل الكريمه، هعمل الحاجات تحت الديكور، الورود، معارف، العرسان وشنو. Then this is what we call the work breakdown structure. I will break down the project into smaller manageable parts. طيب, for each part there will be stakeholder engagement. Who will do this? طبعا لو اتكلمنا عن مصنع كبير there will be different people engaged. لانك انت الوحيده اللي بتعمل الكيك in your kitchen, so you will be involved in all the activities. But generally we may find the different people that contribute in doing a different activities until we finish the whole project. We have to estimate the cost and estimate the schedule, a relation between the activities, when to do each. الكيكه هتقعد في الفرن كم؟ this activity estimate. How long it should take in the oven. هتقعد كم في الفرن. وانت وكتير تقعد في الفرن هتكوني بتعملي في مكونات الكريمه، مكونات الديكور. So it can be concurrently. While the base of the cake in the oven, then you are doing the decoration elements. So concurrently بالتوالي. Okay. لكن you cannot do the cake in the oven without mixing the ingredients. So it's sequential. So all of that will be shown in the project. So the project plan, this is the component of the project plan. And this will be your next assignment, inshallah, to do a project plan. I will give you a guideline also, the same as the guideline to do the project charter, how to do the project plan. And then you will submit the project plan according to the project concept charter that you delivered in your first assignment. So the project plan, it will composite from what we call the change management. What are the scope? What is the goal? What is the budget? What is the schedule? So we are going to talk about the stakeholder communication. Who are the stakeholders and how they can communicate their communication plan? The scope management. What is the budget in detail? Because we do not want to face something we call scope creep. What is scope creep? Suddenly يجيك الكاستمر يقول لك I would like to change the cake from 2 layers to 3 layers. So this is what we call is scope creep. هو changing in the scope. So we don't want this something to be happening. We need to do things as it's required. Quality management plan, okay, and cost and schedule baseline. نحن for this time we are not going to go with the quality management, and I know now you are taking total quality management course, right? Total quality management course. So the same things apply in the total quality management we can apply for the project management. So that's why I omit this part from the course. ما في داعي to repeat something that you are now studying it in another course. يعني لأنه بتقروا total quality management فما في داعي نكرر الحاجة. نقول والله حتقروا ثاني quality management in the project, and all the tools and technique that you are applying in the total quality management you will be applying in the quality management of the project. So no need to repeat them. Okay. So that's why I took out this part from the course. So What is the difference between the project charter? Project charter is the authorized, provide high-level outline of the project, while the project plan is the details, focus on the details, things that we need to do. الcontent بتاع project charter is a broad objective, broad base case, broad deliverables, estimation of the total cost, estimation of the total time. But for the project plan is the detailed work down, which activities, schedules, cost, and so on. The level of the project charter is high level. Overview. I need to build a factory of area of this design. But how I will build this factory in specific details, strategies, and action, this will be written in the project plan. So these are the steps to do the project planning. Okay. So we'll start with the concept of the project. Then we'll go to identify the requirements that needed for the project. This is a kind of a project, okay, for software project, for example. This is a software project. You will find this example in your textbook. تمام? In your textbook, and I will show it now for you. أنا أي حاجة هنا, as I mentioned, is part of your textbook. Okay. Okay. So in your textbook, هتلقوا detailed, okay, plan process as an example. This is not زي ما بنقول شنو تمام. هتلاحظ لي textbook. This are the steps. This is an example for a software project. تمام. This is not a general steps for any project. لكن ده for a software develop project. Okay. They develop from a software. ممكن نلقى different organizations applying different projects. بيكون عندهم different plan process. So it's just an example. You are not required to زي ما بقول to memorize this. Just read it to give you an idea about how projects are being planned. This is a software project. This company applying these steps in their planning for their project. ممكن we can find different companies, they have different planning steps for different types of projects. تمام. This is not for memorizing. Okay. I will not ask you about these 80 steps even in the exam. It just gives you an idea about how the projects can be planned, and this is get and provided from a software project plan. لكن generally it can be applied for different types of projects. Okay. يعني I have to think about the concept of the project, بعدين identify the requirements, then I create a prototype for the project, design prototype for the project. هسه انت مثلا لما بيجوا في الاعراس بيعملوا حاجه اسمها اسمه شنو؟ بيجوا العرسان يذوقوا الاكل، المشكله يقول لك والله احنا نذوق دارين نشوف. They would like to test the menu. بالذات حسب بيجي الاعراس sophisticated كده تلقاهم كده بيعملوا بوفيه مفتوح ويقول لك دارين نجرب الاكل. حركات الخواجات اللي بيعملوها الناس حسب كده، الخواجات عندهم حاجه اسمها بقول لك حفل العشاء او الضواقه، صح؟ تيست ذا دينر تيست. ده بكون ده البروتايب كده. تمام. بيجي الكاستمر بيقوم بذوق الاكل المفروض المتعهد بتاع the wedding planner عنده catering contractor. This catering contractor بيجي he provides samples of the dishes that he will provide in the wedding. بيجي يعمل لها تيست. بعد كده they will go in see how it looks like. If they like it, if they not like it, they change it. بعد كده بيجي بيعمل البروجكت في الاخر. البروجكت في software it go in the same. They will provide a prototype test for the client. They will test the application. بيعمل validate it للdeliverables. It's all working out. All the parts of the software working out. بعد كده the client بيعمل full test. Then he will hand over the project اللي هو software to the client. So this is in the software projects. واحدة من الأشياء دائما for your information يعني الساينس بتاع البروجكت مانجمنت generally they apply it the different textbooks يعني عموما they put the application into two types of projects, construction projects and software projects. A software project, it's like services, well, construction like products. So they provide the two examples. So most of the examples will be in the textbooks related to a construction projects and a software development projects. So we know that planning is a process, stages that we have to follow from transitioning the project plan, the high level concepts, general requirements into a very specific detailed plan. We can find different examples. And if I was providing this in recorded video كنت هديكم more examples about Sudan, more examples about global. في السودان عندنا مشاريع كثيرة اتعملت as project management. مشروع الجزيرة كان irrigation system، ده كان واحدة من الأمثلة. عندنا سد مروي، مروي دام. Globally there are many projects. في NASA projects when it goes to the moon. عندنا the World Cup 2022 في قطر. So the big project. عندنا برضه عندنا projects like الفاكسين بتاعت الكوفيد 19 the latest project. COVID-19 كانت development of the vaccination. So this kind of examples. So we need to go with the planning process, structure components of the project. Right now, how the project is planned is very important. So projects planned by techniques and tools. Here we use the launch meeting and we use the work breakdown structure. So we know what is the launch meeting, and what the first meeting after the project is selected by the organization. The first meeting in the planning is the launch meeting. Well, work breakdown structure is the tool that we are using to hierarchically decompose the project requirements into smaller parts that manageable, and we can identify for each part what to do, how to do it, who to do it, when to do it, and what the resources required to do it. فهنتكلم عن أهم خطوتين أو حاجتين في التخطيط لنشاطات المشاريع، وهي اجتماع الانطلاقة اللانش ميتنج، وده الاجتماع الأول اللي بنعمل بعد اختيار المشروع والموافقة عليه من الإدارة العليا. واحنا نتكلم عن الورك بريك داون ستراكشر اللي هو هيكلة تقسيم الأعمال، تمام؟ ودي بنقسم فيها المهام والأعمال إلى أجزاء صغيرة ممكن أحدد لها تفاصيل بمعنى هعمل شنو فيها، what to do, who will do it، واللي هيعملها، when to do it، هيعملها فين، what resources required to do it، اللي هي how to do it، وبعد كده the budget for it. طيب what is the launch meeting? The launch meeting is the first meeting held when the project is approved by the senior management. So after the project is approved, then the senior manager will invite. So who will invite to the launch meeting? The senior manager. Who will be the chairperson of the launch meeting? The senior manager, not the project manager, not yet. Our project manager will be the chairperson, and we know this is part of the responsibility of the project manager, who will be the chairperson for the project after the first meeting. So in this first meeting, the senior manager will invite all of the stakeholders, any party, anyone who will be contributed in conducting the project, all the departments. So those people, when they come, he will invite them for the purpose of to notify them about the project objectives. What is the project objectives? Second, to introduce the project manager. Third, to get the commitment about their responsibilities and their coordination. So this is what we are need. So we ensure that the project manager and all of the stakeholders have understand the expectations of the project, which is what the client wants from this project. Each individual department will be involved, will be identified, and will be clarified with their responsibility and obligations. كل واحد أو جزء من الناس الموجودين اللي حيكونوا مسؤولين من تنفيذ المشروع هنوريهم شنو الحاجات اللي حيعملوها مسؤولياتهم how they will do it. We'll establish the project scope and discuss any practical aspects of the project. هيتعمل بتين, how long it will take, how we will do it. Okay. We will assign the roles, this the action point that will finish up with the meeting. بعد ما يخلص الاجتماع, every stakeholder will know exactly what's his role. We'll discuss the preliminary project timelines. هنتفق المشروع ده بياخد مني رقم تقريبا. And here we come with our experience. We are experts. So we'll discuss how long it may take this project and how much it will take. So we will clarify the scope and the deliverables. هنأكد على what we have to do, what we have to deliver to the customer. We will estimate the budget and the resource allocation. So what amount of money we need to implement this project and what resources required for that project. So this is about the launch meeting. So the launch meeting outcomes, again, we will understand the scope. Everyone should know exactly what this project is about. And the clear understanding is very important. عشان ما يحصل any confusion and any conflicts in the future. يجي واحد يقول I don't know. No, you know because we clarify this in the meeting. And if you have any question to ask, you may ask the question during that meeting. We will have assignments for the responsibilities. So each department is invited. Why we invite that department? Because they are part of the delivery of that project. And هم جزء من تنفيذ المشروع. So we need to agree about each part responsibility. لازم نتفق على مسؤوليات كله قسم من الأقسام. And the possible coordination between the other departments. What is the possible coordination between your department and another department in conducting the project? The last thing, we need to come with the action plan. Each functional area, each department, they know what they have to do. So they are responsible to develop the detailed plan about their jobs. كل قسم هيكون عارف هو هيعمل شنو بالتفصيل. So these activities should be identified by the corresponding departments. كل قسم هيكون مسؤول من تنفيذ هذا. عشان كده launch meeting may not finalize all the details, definitely. Launch meeting can be touch base. What we mean by touch base? Very fast, very quick. Because this is a project that we used to do. But different client, different requirements. They cake العرس. We are going to do cake of wedding every time. So no need to take a long time to distribute the responsibilities and to talk about the scope and the time. This will be very short meeting. Then it's a routine thing that we used to do. Yes, it's different in its requirements, in its scope, and different client, different requests. But we used to do the same. Like if this project for the first time, we didn't do a kind of project before. So the meeting will be long meeting until we clarify everything. فالاجتماع يا بقى صغير وبسيط لأنه إحنا بنعمل المشروع ده كتير. يا بقى الاجتماع ده هياخد زمن طويل لأنه إحنا أول مرة نتكلم عن موضوع أو ننفذ مشروع من المشروع ده. طيب. How each department will identify activities. So after the launch meeting, each department will go and separately with the department team, they will engage in separate meeting for identifying the activities that they are required to do under their responsibilities. So how they can plan for the activities, they will use what we call work breakdown structure. So each department, they know the general requirements, the high-level requirements of the project. And they would like to identify what they have to do in details that related to their parts. They will engage in a small meetings. They will deliver a detailed action plan about their activities. Then these action plans will come to a general meeting, and that meeting will be chaired by the project manager. So project manager will combine all the different plans, detailed plans from the different departments into one plan, which is the composite project plan. تمام. So after the launch meeting again, each department will go back and they will sit together as a group in meetings in order to identify the activities that they are going to do part of their responsibilities. After they finish, they will be invited again for another meeting where the project manager now will be the chairperson, and he will combine all of the different activities, different action plans from different departments into one plan. And they will sit to check the coordination and the interrelation between the different action plans for different activities. And here what we come at the end, the composite final project plan. تمام. يبقى بعد نهايه الاجتماع الاول كل قسم حيرجع برا، حيمشي يعمل خطته للنشاطات اللي هو مسؤول يعملها من خلال ادواره المعروفه واللي اتفقوا عليها في الاجتماع. بعد ما يخلصوا اجتماعاتهم الفرديه هيجتمعوا ثاني، لكن المره دي حيدعي الاجتماع منه ما حيدعي له السينيور مانجر، حيدعي له البروجكت مانجر، حيكون هو رئيس الاجتماع. هيجمع الخطط اللي جهزوها كل الاقسام المختلفه في خطه واحده، وحيتناقشوا في العلاقات بين النشاطات والعلاقات بين الخطط اللي جابوها الاقسام المختلفه. And then it will be approved. After it was approved, it will be خلاص finalized. It will never change until it comes with the same process. I cannot change the final authorized approved action plan or project plan. If there is a change, I have to go with the same process. I have to invite all the stakeholders and they sit together and then approve the changes and so on. تمام. How they can do their plan? They will use what we call the work breakdown structure. Work breakdown structure. So the work breakdown structure is a technique that we hierarchically, هيكليا, like a hierarchy, we decompose the deliverables of the project into smaller parts. So I cannot exactly know what to do in the beginning, what the resources require. Like when I come to the smaller parts, so I can know exactly what are the components, the resources, the time required to do that part. So I would like to make a wedding cake. Good. So wedding cake, how I can do it? So if you think about the wedding cake, it will be a little bit complicated. Now, I can decompose the wedding cake into two parts to main two deliverables. The first deliverable is the base of the cake, القاعدة تحت الكيك. Second deliverables in the decoration elements, حاجات الديكور. كده بقت more easier لأنه I separated the deliverables into two main components. So this is what we call level 1. We divide the main deliverable, which is the cake, into two deliverables, smaller, the base of the cake and the decoration of the cake. Now I will go to the decoration of the cake. What decorations I need to prepare for the cake? So I need to do decoration items like flowers, like معارف leaves، حاجات بيعملوها كده بوصلوها في الكيك. And then the cream. So again, I divided the decoration into two deliverables. I can think about each separately. The cream that is surrounding the cake, and then the decoration items, the flowers, the image, whatever that you want. Then we go to the base. The base can be decomposed into three levels, or three components, or three work units. The first work unit is the dry mixture. The second is the liquid mixture. The third is the oven, الفرن. So now I can know exactly what are the ingredients needed in the liquid mixture, what are the ingredients, the material needed in the dry mixture, what are the resources needed for the oven. أجيب the other side, I can know what are the ingredients needed for the creamer. I can know what are the ingredients needed for each decoration item. So this is the goal of the work breakdown structure, is to make the project into smaller, easier, manageable tasks. Smaller, easier, manageable tasks. Like, there is another example here in the textbook, and I provide it. I will let you to read about it, which is a construction. Okay, like can I give you the cake, because I know you are all female and you like to do cake and you like to go to the kitchen. So we can apply it for everything. So now what we did, we applied the steps, 3 steps. The first step, we have the major project task. So like this here, construction project. This is the major task. For me, it was the cake, if you remember the cake. So I divided this major task into subtasks. And this is what we have to do بعدين يا جماعة in your assignment. So concentrate with me. When you look at your project, you have to think about the major task in your project. Level 2. Okay? So now level 2. And it has been numbering 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4. 1, this is the level. Okay? 2, this is the deliverable. Then when I go further down, I will go with the same deliverable to lower level. Okay? So it's hierarchy. Why hierarchy? لأنه هيكل. Like the project hierarchy charter. So we know that in project management, we have the project hierarchy. So this is for construction project. You may do it for any project. Okay? So you can start with your project. See, there is another example برضه in the textbook. Okay? This is a dinner. Okay? annual tribute dinner. ده عشاء بتاع توديع واحد توفى. اوكي عامل له تريبيوت دينر وداعه. فهم عاملين قسموا الدينر تو ليفل deliverable 1 2 3 4 5 15 deliverable. For each part of the event they are a lower level. Event host, invitations, عملوا mailing للليست وديزاين. Design for the invitations is a task. Then after that I will mail the list. عندي mailing list من اللي حدعوهم. جهزت قائمة الدعوات وعملت الديزاين بتاع الانفيتيشن. بعد كده حرست الانفيتيشن. عشان كده بيجي في الانفيتيشنز there are two major tasks. Mailing list قائمة المدعوين والديزاين of the invitation itself. Okay. It's clear. شايفين الشاشة بتاعت المرجع صفحة 81 واضحة؟
ايوه واضحه واضحه يا مستر.
جود. انا بدي اشوفكم متابعين معايا ولا نايمين. تمام. فزي ما قلت لكم anything that you need to know in more details or the examples are clear يعني in more details. And I'm trying to give you another examples, simple examples, not that one in the PowerPoint slide ولا that apart from the book عشان يكون عندكم different variety examples. I will give you a very smaller examples لكن you can think upper level until you come to your project that you are submitting. Okay, good. So this is the way that we do the work breakdown structure. Very easy, right? Very easy steps. We come from the major task. So these are the steps. Define your project, general, main, objective. What I need from the project. The project is wedding cake. Good. So this is the main objective. Then break down the major task into two. The base of the cake and the decoration of the cake. Two major tasks. Then I divide each one into smaller components. When you finish, you may ask, which level I finish? The level that you can easily identify all the information about that component. You can identify what to do, how to do it, who will do it, what the resource required, when to do it. If you be able to identify this in clear, stop. So this is the level that we stop in the work breakdown structure. Don't go in a very detailed. This is what we call it paralyzed planning. شلل التخطيط. Paralyzation in planning شلل التخطيط انك انت when you go to plan and you will never reach it. So reach the level that it's sufficient information available to you about the task. Okay? So this is what we call. Ensure all tasks are counted for. Preventing missed tasks. حاول انك ما تنسى اي task. عشان كده دائما ما بيعمل الزر واحد the project plan. They will be a team عشان they have to discuss. Facilitate clear responsibility assignment. After you finish, who will do the plan for that task? Who will do that task? Help create a realistic timeline and budget. It's very important about the work breakdown structure. لأنه after I finish the smaller task هلقى الوحشني بعد work breakdown structure إنه I didn't forget any task. All the tasks are there. لأنه I go logically. I think about every piece and part in the project. Now it's easy to assign a job or a person for each task. أقول this person will be doing that task. أنت هتعملي dry mixture. You will do the liquid mixture. You will do the cream. You will be responsible of the decoration. So it's easy for me. Now it's easy to identify the resource of each task, which is the budget. What is budget? Budget is the resources, the money required to acquire the resources. So I need dry ingredients. I need flour. I need vanilla. I need baking powder. I need ما بناخد خميره ولا في خميره؟ في خميره في الكيك؟ ما في مش؟ طيب ما في خميره يعني ما عيش تمام. لو كان بيتزا كنت هاخد خميره. طيب ابدا حددت I get to know the dry ingredients. So I know now exactly what are the ingredients in the dry part. Now I go to the liquid part. Why I divide it to a liquid part, then I will see. I need egg, I need milk, I need ما داري زيت، الزيت برضه في العيش هنا. طيب بس ملك وبيض. اوكي now I will start. الفانيليا ممكن تكون سائلة وممكن تكون ناشفة. إذا كانت سائلة بنحطها مع الليكويد، إذا كانت ناشفة بنحطها مع الدرج. And so on. So this is how we think about what are the resources. Each of those resources need money. يعني if I would like to buy the flour, I need to know how the kilo of the flour. لكن how many kilos I need? This is the requirements. How many kilos you need? Depends on the scope of the cake. الكيكة دي 1 layer, 2 layer, 3 layers. Depends on the request of the bride and the groom, and so on. Okay, this is another example for a health infrastructure project in Sudan, hospital, for example, how we can divide it also in work breakdown structure, لكن no need to go in more details. Now you can apply it for any project that you may think about it. So this is the first part of the planning, how we can plan for the project activity. So the project activity planning is transitioning the project charter into the project plan. لكن the project plan has many components. Part of it identifying the project. So we need to think about how we can develop a very detailed project plan. Identify each activity, the timeline, the budget. Okay, so we'll start at the first level. We start by identifying the project activities. So we discussed how we can plan. Okay, and we plan depends on a process. How we can end up with a timeline using the resources, identifying the deliverables. It comes from nuts and blocks. This one, elements, tools and techniques. Nuts and blocks بالبلان. تمام؟ nuts and blocks اللي هي زي المسامير شنو المسمار بيخش في شنو؟ لو اخذت مسمار بحطه في حفره مش كده؟ nuts and blocks. سوري. تمام. هو زي بركب، مش انت بحط المسمار في صاموله صح؟ ولا بركب الحاجه لحد ما تبقى كامله، يعني لازم تركبوا لكم حاجه مكنه نركبها بصواميل وبمسامير. فهي nuts and blocks ده الترم اللي بيستخدموه، وده الترم بتلقوه مكتوب ذاته في المرجع. How we go from nuts and blocks. Okay. So it's about the nuts and blocks of the project. Right. This is the project launch meeting. تمام؟ لهيومن ريسورس ديفلوبمنت بروجكت. هشوف هم اتكلموا عنه كيف. ده مثال very effective example that you can see what they did, how they planned for the meeting, what they discussed in that meeting. So when you go to the examples of a reference, it will give you a good idea about يعني بس أقول it's very important يعني حاجة كويسة إنكم تقروا الأمثلة المكتوبة فيه to go through the project reference. And that's why I am not providing any table and any figure. I refer just to it. If you see, and if you consider this or you notice this in the previous videos, I wasn't ever provide you with the diagram. لاحظتوا؟ بقول لكم go to the reference, check the diagrams. لأنه I would like you to go to the reference. الباوربوينت ودي ما كانت خطتي، يعني الناس اللي كانوا يقروا معاي في الجزء الأول كانوا عارفين بكتب في السبوره صح، وخليكم تكتبوا your own notes، لكن خلاص احنا شغالين اونلاين تيتشنج يعني فحظكم بقى عندكم نوت. لكن you are supposed to do your own note from the reference، لانكم خلاص بقيتوا بنات كبار يعني بنات في رابعه وخلاص في الرجال يعني. تمام. So this is a kind also of the hierarchical planning. This is what the planning, hierarchical planning going to be like. So when we start from the very fake outline, the first level. Okay, then we move forward to more detail. We put more detail. Look at the picture. So from the picture, I wasn't know is it a girl or a boy. So I put more detail until we come with the detail that I can identify this is a girl. So it's enough. So this is the way that of the hierarchical work breakdown structure. It's a tree structuring. Like it tells you to what extent that the project will be more clear to you. So in the beginning was a very outline of the picture. So move more forward with the more details until I reach the 3-level planning. So normally they say 3 levels are very enough and very sufficient in the first plan. So this is the details of the project process. We start with the launch meeting. Okay, the launch meeting, then every department will go. They will develop their own plan using the work breakdown structure, and then they will come back again for a meeting for compositing the plan. Will be chaired by the project manager. Okay, so now we have all the plan after that. Lakin this will be after we do all the budgeting, all the scheduling plan as you see. Lakin for the activity, just we know the activity and the logical relationship between the activities. Very important, the technological relationship between the activities. So what we need to take away from this here, very important, think about it. Effective project planning, activity planning is transforming project goals into actionable. Very important. We have to ensure that each stakeholder is alignment there. Each stakeholder, any department, any person responsible to carry out any part of the project, it should be there. So I will set all the stages that required for successful execution. So it's a roadmap. Okay. It's used by applying the launch meeting and creating a work breakdown structure, comprehensive work breakdown structure to manage all complexity in diverse projects. أي مشروع مهما كان معقد بالwork breakdown structure, I can finalize it. Okay, so this is the first part, which is the project activity plan. Do you have any question before we move to the second part?
يا مستر معلش ممكن تعيد المثال حق الكيكة بالهيراركي ما قدرت أفهمه.
طيب how you do the cake? What's required to do the cake يا نوران؟ يعني if you would like to do the cake, what are the major deliverables that it's in the cake? Wedding cake. If you would like to divide the cake into 2 main parts, what are the main parts of the cake? The wedding cake.
المواد أول بجيب المواد
قبل المواد ما المواد. الكيكة مكونة من شنو أساسا؟ الكيك العرس له طبق العرس مكونة من شنو؟
موية ودقيق.
لا، مكونة من كيكة ومكونة من ديكور.
أيوة.
الكيكة حاجة برا والديكور حاجة برا صح؟ أنت بتعمل الكيكة أول.
أيوة.
بعدين بتعمل الديكور. عشان كده مهم جدا إنه the technical person that he know what this project is about should be involved. The aligned stakeholder. Bring the stakeholder that technically know what is it about. يعني انت لو ما عارفه يعني شنو كيكه وما عارفه الكيكه مكونه من شنو ما حد تفهمي تقسمي. عشان كده بديتكم بس موضوع الكيكه لانكم انتوا شغالين في المطابخ. لكن any project نحن عشان كده قلنا انه any project manager should acquire the technical credibility انه يعرف الحاجات الفنيه بالمشروع. فانت ما لو قلت لي كيكه مكونه كده معناته انت ما فاهمه يعني شنو كيكه. لو انت فعلا خبازه كويسه هتقول لي the cake has two separate parts. I will do the base الكيكه و I will do the decoration براهم. دي الحاجتين مختلفات بيتعاملوا بعيدين من بعض. عشان كده يبقى تقسيم الورك بريك داون بتاع المشروع بتاع الكيكه مقسم لانه اعمل البيس براه واعمل التغليف والديكور براه. اجي الكيكه لو انا بفهم في الكيك كويس هقول لك والله الكيك ده اصلا 3 مراحل اساسيه. الكومبوننت الاول الحاجات الناشفه والحاجات السائله وبعد كده الفرن. يبقى حولتها ل3 ميجر تاسك. كده خلاص كفايه كده. انا قادر افهم الحاجات الناشفه برا ايوه، قادر اعرف الحاجات اللينه برا ايوه، قادر اعرف مرحله الفرن ايوه. كده الكيكه خلصت ايوه خلصت. ده مشروع بسيط. في مشاريع ثانيه يمكن يكون فيها more detailed deliverables at this level. امشي هناك الجانب الثاني بتاع البيز بتاع الديكور. الديكور معروف انه في الكريمه اللي بغطي به وفي الحاجات اللي بجديها ما عارف ورده صفقه سكسكانيه مش كده جدعاء كده في الكيك عشان تزينها. دي الحاجتين مختلفات لانه دي بتتعامل براها الكريمه بطريقه ودي بتتعامل بطريقه براها بمكونات براها او بشتريها جاهزه مرات بجيبها او بعملها بطريقه براها بحاجات براها بشوكولاته بفانيليا. يبقى هنا قسمتها برضه ليه؟ الليفل ثاني ادب. So this is the way that we think about any project. لكن the most important thing انه I know what is this project يعني. But I cannot deliver the project in smaller components unless I know technically what is this project about. Technically. عشان كده قلنا technical credibility of the project manager is very important. Along with the administrative credibility. بيكون عنده الموثوقية التقنية انه بيفهم في نوع ده من المشاريع عشان يقدر يعرف تركيبة النشاطات وعلاقاتها في السينما. يكون بيعرف الجوانب الإدارية عشان يقدر يعرف يعمل تخطيط ويعمل بادجيتنج وسكيدولينج صح. كلير؟
ليه؟
تمام. دائما فكروا في حاجات بسيطة يعني. أنا ما حاولت أخط لكم في يعني حاجات معقدة لكن دائما تفكروا في حاجات بسيطة. طيب good. Any question before we move to the second part? Okay, welcome back. So now we are going to go to start the second part of the project planning. After we identified all the activities, so from the project planning activities, we identified all of the activities. So now we have an activities in terms of an action plan. And we identified all the relationship between the activities, and we call it the precedence logical relationship. علاقة التتابع ودي تكون technical relationship. How technically they are related. Which activity before the other activity. Which activity precede يعني سابقة to the activity. Which activity is the successor. Successor يعني اللاحقة for an activity. And this is totally from a technical perspective. يعني you cannot say that without knowing the technical aspect of the project. Okay, so after we identify the activities, we need for each activity to identify the requirements. So what we mean by the requirements? The requirements are the resources required to do the activity. Each activity requires the resources. Continuing our cake example. So now, how many layers that the cake should be? It will identify how many kilos of flour, how many pieces of eggs, how many liters of milk, how many from each material. So this material required to make the cake, but each material will be used allocated. So allocation of resources, that means distribution. Each material will be allocated for a certain activity. So the activity of mixing the dry components, it will be only requiring the dry ingredients, vanilla, salt, milk, baking powder only. So are we going to add the egg here? No. Are we going to allocate the milk for this activity? No. So for each activity, we have to identify its requirements, which resources require. So I identified the resources required. Along with that, there will be a laborer required. There will be a person who will do the mixture. The mixing will not be alone. There will be a machine for the mixture, right? Now we're using the blender machine to do the mixture. في ناس بيعملوها بيدهم بالمعلقة صح بالسبون. Even if I use only the spoon, I need a bowl اللي هو كورة أخذ فيها الانجريدينتس at least. So this will be a part of the requirements. انت ما هتعمل الخليط ده في المطبخ مصنع المطبخ صح؟ It should be in a bowl. You will put all the dry ingredients in the bowl. Then you will use the spoon for mixing. You need cups to put the measurements المقادير in measuring cups and so on. So any requirements needed, it should be listed. Measuring cups, bowl, spoon. لا أنا ما أستخدم spoon. I will use blending machine and be careful of the requirements. If I may ask, if I use a blending machine and if I use the spoon, which required less time, تاخد زمن أقل أكثر. Blending machine or the spoon? Mixing with the spoon or mixing with the blending machine?
blending machine.
Exactly. عشان كده بعدين part of the time management, the resources used. What time required to do the activity? It depends on the resources. That's why we plan for the time after the budget. Again, according to the resources used, you will identify the time. If I am using a blending machine, it requires a different time to complete the activity from using the spoon. That's why we do the scheduling after the budgeting. لأنه البudgeting is about the resource required. Now, the budget will be different. If I am using blending machine, if I am using the spoon, are they cost the same? تكلفتهم واحدة. Buying a spoon and buying a blending machine, the same cost or different cost? Different cost. Exactly. Yes. So depends on the requirements that you will use, depends on the machines, the tools that you will use. It may end up with a different cost. عشان كده cost estimate is part of it, the material cost, as you will see, the labor cost, the overhead cost. And I will not go into details on that. I need to get the cost of management accounting في data. صح؟ قريته ولا ما قريته؟ قريته صح؟ ولا نسيته؟ دكتورة بدور ودكتورة سماح، أنا مش بسألهم، ما كلموني وروني. عشان كده حتى في الجوب البروجكت سelection أنا بس درستكم ساعة والله، عملت لكم بس مراجعة للانترنال ريت اوف ريتين، ومع انه الكلام ده كله قريته، انترنال ريت اوف ريتين قريتوه، والنت بريزنت فاليو قريتوه، والبروفيتابيلتي قريتوها، والسكورينج ذاته قريناه في الاوبريشنز مانجمنت في سنه ثالثه. لكن بس ساعه لو قلت دي الكورونا، مش الكورونا، الحرب وكده مش سهل معاكم. لكن this part of budgeting start with the cost estimate for each activity and you know how to cost activity based cost, APC costing. You know that, right? You know that. ناس accounting قاعدين معانا صح؟ مش يتكلم أستاذ عاطف، أستاذ سماح، أستاذ بدور، أستاذ محمد نور، أستاذ البشير، نقول لهم البنات قالوا ما عارفين ولا عارفين activity cost based. والله دي مشكلة تقوى. ما حيسمعوا زي كده، مش تقدروا تتذكروا. معاكم بنات اكاونتنج يمشي يقريكم الكلام ده. احنا اصلا الجزء ده المفروض يقروه لكم بنات اكاونتنج. هسه هم معانا في السيشن ده صح؟ مش معانا بنات اكاونتنج؟ الاكتيفيتي كوست بيز، الاي بي سي كوستنج، قريتوه في الكوست مانجمنت اكاونتنج مع بعض وكده. طيب اوكي ريتين بقى. So the budgeting of any activity related ما حسيها تسنيم، قريتوه في الكوست مانجمنت اكاونتنج. الكوست مانجمنت اكاونتنج قريتوه سنه ثالثه تسنيم. خليه حاسس انتوا بتقروه ثاني زياده بلد اكاونتنج في الانترميديت اكاونتنج وفي البرفورمانس، لكن في سنه ثالثه في الكوست مانجمنت اكاونتنج قريتوه. في الكوست مانجمنت اكاونتنج قريتوه. ايوه شغالين بيرفورمانس، شغالين انترميديت صح؟ اكاونتنج صح؟ اثنين صح؟ الاوديت شغالين اوديت صح؟ لكن في البيرفورمانس بتقولوا لانه البيرفورمانس بارت من الكوست مانجمنت اكاونتنج ذاته يعني. هو اصلا البيرفورمانس مانجمنت ده الادفانس بتاع الكوست مانجمنت. يعني حتى في الاي سي سي اي البيرفورمانس مانجمنت ده هو ذاته الادفانس كوست مانجمنت اكاونتنج في الاي سي سي اي اسمه كده. يعني ما بتغشونا احنا يعني. انا ما قاعد مع دكتور عبد الله، دكتوره سماح، دكتوره بدور، وبعدين الدكتوراه بتاعتي في الفاينانس مانجمنت، عشان كده ما بتاكلوني حنك بعدين يا تسليم. فانتوا قريتوا في الكوست مانجمنت اكاونتنج وبعد كده حسب البيرفورمانس مانجمنت دي بس حاجه اضافيه. اوكي عشان كده بعدين عندكم اي سؤال يا جماعه في البادجيتنج استلموا ناس اكاونتنج دي يشرحوا لكم البادجيتنج دي كويس لانه فاهمينها وعارفينها. ما تسالوني بعدين عن البادجيتنج، تقول لي والله نحسب الكوست كيف وكده. عندكم بنات اكاونتنج دي شاطرات ما شاء الله يشرح لكم كل الحاجات. اوكي so each account is activity based cost, APC costing. So here we would like to see the activity. What is the activity and what are the requirements needed for that activity? The requirements are two. Any requirements for any activity, we call them material requirement and labor requirement. We know that. Material cost and labor cost. And this is the direct cost. So for each activity, there is a requirement. Ingredients, materials, machineries, tools, equipments. This is a part of the physical material. And we have the human material with the labor cost. And the labor cost is identified with the time base. How many hours the labor will take to do the activity and what is the cost per hour. We know that also. So in order to estimate the cost of each activity, we have to know the activity and we have to know the requirements of the activity. So it's a related parts together. We start with the activity planning. We know each activity, then we will identify for each activity its requirements, material requirements, and labor requirements. These requirements will be translated into monetary value. These requirements will be translated into monetary value. How many kilos of flour I need? If the cake is one layer, not the cake like 4 layers. 1 layer, I will need less flour. 4 layers, I will need more flour. So the amount of flour, it will estimate the cost of the flour. Now I know how the kilo bare flour is. How many eggs I need? How many liters of milk I need? Am I using machines, blending machines? Am I using manual mixtures, spoons? How advanced is my oven? الفرن بتاعي كيف؟ فالcost related to the time. الcost related to the time. I will ask you a question, لكن I need you to think about the answer of this question. If we have 5 dresses, and each dress will take 5 minutes to dry. Each dress will take 5 minutes to dry. How many minutes I need to dry all the dresses? عندي 5 فساتين، كل فستان ياخد 5 دقائق عشان ينشف. كم من الزمن هياخدوا 5 فساتين؟ غلط يا قمر، غلط يا نهال، غلط ما 5 دقائق، ما 25. غلط يا منى، غلط. فرانك wrong لينا. we have 5 dresses. عندي 5 قمصان، 5 فساتين. الفستان الواحد بياخد 5 minutes to dry، بياخد 5 دقائق عشان ينشف. ال5 فساتين حينشفوا في كم دقيقة؟
5
غلط.
دقايق فقط.
غلط. غلط يا ايمان، غلط. الإجابة دي لو كان زمان انتوا في الابتدائي، حتى انتوا تقروا بروجكت مانجمنت، هتسألوا سؤال مهم، أهم سؤال. This is an activity, right? دقيقة. This is an activity. So you will ask, what are the requirements in this activity? How we will dry the dresses? What equipment we use to dry the dresses? You have to ask this question. Now you are a project manager. You are not a just naive person. انتوا ما ناس عاديين. انتوا are project managers. فسؤالكم حيكون what requirements we use to dry the dresses. طيب قال لك هنشتغل dry machine. Okay, good. So this dry machine, how many dresses it can take per time? الدراي ماشين دي بتاخد كم قميص في المرة الواحدة. Very important. I have to know the quality of my machineries. لأنه the time depends on the type of the machineries. لا أنا ما خلصت نوع القماش، ما قلت لك 5 دقائق يا أبونا، هنا نوع القماش ما عنده علاقة. أنا ما قلت لك 5 دقائق، القميص بياخد 5 دقائق، خلاص أنا ما حددت لك القميص ده بغض النظر هو قطن هو صوف هو بياخد 5 دقائق. هنا ما بنتكلم عن نوع القماش. هتسألني سؤال، انت هتنشف القميص ده بيعطي حاجه. if you will use a dry machine، هستخدم مكنه تنشيف او نشافه. how many dresses it can take؟ هتاخد كم قميص؟ if all of the 5 can be taken in one round, so I can finish in 5 minutes. لكن if the dry machine can take only 2 per time، اذا المكنه دي بتاخد لي بس قميصين في الوقت الواحد. معناها I need 3 rounds. I need 3 rounds. The first round 2, the second round 2, the last round. ما في أكثر من إجابة. لا ما في أكثر من إجابة يا أبرار. ما في أكثر من إجابة. في إجابة واحدة. الإجابة بتعتمد على نوع المشين. ما في أكثر من إجابة. No, there is no more than one answer. There is only one answer, but when you ask the right question. The right question is how I will dry the dresses. Then I will dry the dresses using a dry machine. How many dresses in time per cycle the dry machine can take? طيب قال لك انا ما بستخدم dry machine، بستخدم drying rope، حبل غسيل. هسأل حبل الغسيل طوله كم؟ حبل الغسيل طوله كم؟ إذا حبل الغسيل قصير بياخد قميص واحد، معناه هحتاج 5 مرات. هنشف الأول، بعدين الثاني، بعدين الثالث، بعدين الرابع، بعدين الخامس. إذا حبل الغسيل طويل بيشيل 5 أو أكثر، معناه كلهم ممكن أعملهم في مرة واحدة. So this is the way that a project manager think. You think about the requirements, and the requirements you use, it has a cost. حبل الغسيل سعره ما زي سعر غسالة النشافة. حبل الغسيل رخيص، النشافة غالية. لكن القميص في النشافة بيشف أسرع من حبل الغسيل. Definitely. لأنه how advanced is your requirements, the less time you will take. The quality of your requirements identify the cost of the requirements and will identify the time to do the activity. عشان كده احنا we start with the project budgeting to identify the requirements and to transfer these requirements into money. There is a constraint on there is a constraint in identifying the requirements, which is the available budget. انت كشركة عندك ميزانية كم؟ هسه كلكم بعدين ان شاء الله هتشتروا. واحدة منكم هتشتري غسالة، واحدة ما هتشتري غسالة. ليه؟ السبب شنو؟ دي اللي هتشتري غسالة في بيتها ودي ما هتشتري غسالة في بيتها. كلكم ان شاء الله هتعرسوا بعد 2 3، لكن واحدة هتشتري غسالة، واحدة ما هتشتري غسالة. ليه؟ الميزانية exactly. So according to your budget, and even the organizations according to the budget that available, they will identify the type of requirements that they will use. According to my budget, I may decide to bring machineries, or I will go with the labor. So I can go labor intensive or capital intensive. So it depends on the budget. So it depends on the budget, the requirements will be identified. So what we are going to know today, we will see why budgeting is important. And now we talk why budgeting is important. I just provide you with an example why budgeting is important. I will try to know how to compare different methods of budgeting. أنا هنا في الكورس I will provide you in details top down and bottom up. لكن for further reading, I would like you to go to read the Agile method. Agility is the modern concept in the world. Agility, الرشاقة, الiterative, الscript, الداينامكس، دي لغة العالم الآن، اللي هي الحاجات الادابتيشن، الريزيلينس، الاجيليتي. في ناس كثيرين بعدين هياخدوا مشاريع في خامسة هتكون كلها toward the agility. How to be adaptable. Things is dynamic, it's changing. طيب in a changing project, the budgeting will be the same, definitely will be different. So we'll use agility concepts اللي هم بيسموها السكريبت والسكرابس. لكن ما هنخش فيها. انا لو قلت لكم هنتكلم عن حاجات البيزك بس، لكن if you would like to know more about it, read it. It's very intellectual for you, very advanced, very good, especially for NASA cost and management accounting, NASA finance and accounting. Go to read the agility in budgeting. لكن the concept of agility, I recommend any concentration. Human resource management, read about agility in human resource management. Procurement and supply chain management, read about agility. Marketing, read about agility. Agility is now in every discipline. Agility is the trend of the current era اللي هو شغل الادابتيشن، لانه العالم بقى فيه داينامكس especially بعد الكورونا. كورونا خلت الناس تفكر بطريقه مختلفه جدا. خلت الناس تقول انه اي حاجه تتغير حوالينا سريع. عشان كده بقى مفهوم الاجيلتي بقى في كل الاشياء موجوده. فريد about the agility. انا I took it out from the presentation today. ما عايز اخش في تفاصيلها وما هسالكم منها، لكن for further reading go to read about the agility method of budgeting for your own knowledge. يعني لما تفهموها كويس هتقدروا تستخدموها بعيد في التخصصات الثانيه. So we will go to understand the process of cost estimate and its role in budgeting, and already we have an idea about the activity cost base. Activity cost base اللي هو ABC, activity based costing. This is the way that we identify the requirements of each activity. بعد ذلك we will see what is the cost of each component, the material component cost, the labor component cost. وعندنا حاجة اسمها الجنرال كوست اند اوفر هيدز، مش كده؟ مثلا الاكونتنج او فاينانس زي ما قلت لكم. بعدين عندكم اي حاجه الجنرال سيلز ادمنستريشن كوست. عندكم اي معلومه اسالوا فيها ناس تسليم وناس مات، ناس الاكونتنج دي شاطرات وبعدين بيقول لكم اي حاجه شفتوا في الدرس ده ما فهمتوها ترجعوا لهم. طيب انا بديكم الحاجات العامه الظريفه، هم بعدين بيديكم حاجات تفصيليه زي ما قلت لكم. اصلا اوريدي قريتوا في الكوست اند مانجمنت اكاونتنج، فno need to go in more details about that. طيب. So we'll start with the introduction to budgeting. What is budgeting? Why we need budgeting? And already I give you an overview about what is budgeting and why it's important to do budgeting. And budgeting is about requirements identification in terms of quality and quantity. Very important. Quantity and quantity. Quality and quantity. الجودة والعددية. What we use and how many we use. زي مثال 5 dresses. One took 5 minutes. How the 5 will be dry in how many minutes? You asked about the quality and quantity of the requirements. هنستخدم كم حبل غسيل، هنستخدم كم machine. Very important. Then we go to the methods of budgeting. What are the different methods of budgeting? As I told you, we will go in the two main methods, top, bottom up of budgeting. And agile budgeting is about the dynamics, the changing, the adaptation. It's for your further reading. لكن I will give you a definition about the agile budgeting as a definition, but just to know it. بعد كده عندنا الكوست estimate, how we can estimate the cost. And when we estimate the cost, you already know how to estimate the cost of any activity, activity-based costing, ABC. You're already familiar with it in the cost and management accounting. طيب. Our keyword is project budgeting. طيب. Budgeting is a plan. Budget is a plan. It's not a cost estimate. It's a plan. Why it's a plan? لأن for each activity, we will identify the required resources. And each activity should be implemented in a timeline. So at that particular time, we have to make available of the resources. لازم نوفر المواد دي صح. So we need to make available of the fund, which is the money required. عشان كده it's a timeline plan. A budget, it's a money timeline plan. Fund timeline plan. What amount of money needed at that particular period of time, at that timeline. So this is the budget. So it's about allocating resources. لأنه money required for the resources, and we know resources requirements, monetary value of the resources, either physical resources, material, machineries, equipment, tools, or human resources, labor. Okay, along with the other general sales administrative resources, cost, اللي هو الاوفر cost, الرنت, electricity, البيل اوف phones, دي كلها عباره عن overhead cost. طيب, what is top down budgeting? Which is estimate the budget from the high requirements based on the past experience. So انت عارفه زمان الكيكه بتكلف كم؟ You know this. 3 layers of cake, you know that from your past experience. هتكلفك 5000 SDG. كلفني 5 مليون جنيه سودان. It's okay. From your past experience, you know how 5-layer cake can cost. طيب. هم طلبوا منك 4 layers cake. Now they are asked you for 4 layers cake. And you used to do 5 layers cake. Do you think the cost will be more or will be less than 5,000 SDG? You used to do 5-layer cake, and this 5-layer cake was costing you 5,000 SDG, نعمات. And now you are required to do 4-layer cake. The cost will be more or less. دارين انك تعملي 4 طبقات، كنت بتعملي 5 طبقات ب 5 مليون. هسه دارين انك تعملي 4 طبقات. هتكون اقل ولا اقل؟
لو كده اقل.
So this is the top-down budgeting. Estimate on our past experience. Now I need to estimate the cost of the new requirements. So if 5-layer cake was 5,000 SDG, معناها 4-layer cakes approximately will be 4,000 SDG times of ratio comparison. So this is the way we think about top-down budgeting. We know from our past experience, similar projects, how much it costs us as a budget. Now I can estimate my new project based on my past experience. Bottom-up budgeting, here I come from the activity-based accounting, from the task level, and then I accumulate. And cost is accumulation, not like the time. A time accumulation. A time ما تجميع زي ما حنشوف. لأن in the time management, they may be activities conducted concurrently في نفس الزمن. فما حجمع زمن دي مع زمن دي لأن هم بيتعاملوا في نفس اليوم. فأخذوا الاثنين يوم واحد في نفس اليوم. لكن ده براه بتاخد يوم ودي بتاخد يوم، لكن عملتهم في نفس اليوم عشان كده يبقى time required to finish is 1 day. But each will be conducted concurrently on the same time. In the cost, it will be accumulated لأنه الماتيريال required for the first task والcost required for the second task are different. So I have to make available of this money and this money. So the bottom up, it's accumulation of the activity costing. I will start from the bottom and then we'll add up all the cost until we aggregate all the cost of all the activities, and this will be the bottom up. So it's starting from bottom up. I'll budget based on Scrum team cost. per sprint and project velocity اللي هو how the project is changing, and this is regarding to the the adaptation. طيب انا هوريكم الحته دي قاعده وين. انا ما اقدر اعمل لكم لا confusion. ايوه بس دي حاجه مهمه جدا، لكن خليها بعدين لما نيجي الهيراركي بلاننج how we can composite الورك بريك داون ستراكشر في الدوكيومنت، لكن ما مشكله بعدين لما نيجي نعمل الاساينمنت باخد لكم الريكوايرمنت. طيب اللي هي البادجت اجيليتي. This is a part of the budget agility. يعني it's very simple. نتكلم عن الايديا بتاعتها in very simple term, not more than that. And I just would like you to read it for how it works nowadays. They have two terms called the Scrum and Sprint. تمام؟ The Scrum and Sprint. Scrum and Sprint, here we use it to divide the project into smaller components. بعد كده I will try to think about the part and the changing in that part. التغيير اللي بيحصل في البارت. منو اللي بيعمل يا جماعة ليه كده حتى يعني ليه بس حتى ده السؤال يعني ليه okay. So this is the part of the agile budgeting. تمام. بس read it for yourself. يعني أنا ما أقدر أخش في التفاصيل، ممكن تكون شوية دخلنا في التفاصيل الثانية. الwork element costing اللي هو حسب استخدمناه اللي هو how I can estimate the cost of individual work element in a project اللي هو activity based costing. And overall head cost, you know this is the indirect cost like the electricity, like the rent, general expenses. وعندنا general sales administrative cost برضو I will add it. دي تكون for the projects. طيب what is the project budgeting؟ احنا قلنا it's a financial plan. يعني شنو يهمنا financial plan؟ Plan that means time. That means time. طيب انت you know that you have to do the activity on the 3rd of December. This activity should be done on the 3rd of December. So good. So in the 3rd of December, all the material required for that activity should be ready. Correct, Mona? Should be ready. If it wasn't be ready, then you will not be able to do the activity. So the fund should be available at that time. مش في الاكاونتنج بتعملوا كده انت عموما. And the money should be available at that time. Should be available on the 3rd of December. يعني in the 3rd of December همشي الخزنه اقول له داير القروش بتاعت المواد. So هل القروش ارتبطت بزمن ولا ما ارتبطت بزمن؟ So now the money, the fund is related to a specific time, which is the 3rd of December. So in the 3rd of December, there are certain resources required. Allocation of resources, and in the 3rd of December, there are certain resources required. So this is the allocation. Then there is an activity, and this activity requires those resources. And these resources, in order to be acquired, I need funds. So now the budget, it's a timeline plan or not? It's a timeline plan. Because now I will know as part of the budget, وانتوا هتجروا budget لو ما قريتوا هتجروه as a part of the budget how much money I need at that particular period of time. Why I need that money? I need that money to acquire the resources. Which resources? The resources allocated to that activity. And why? لأنه that activity needs to be executed in that time. عشان كده البudget related to the activity لأنه it's related to the resources required to the activity. When activity needed to be in time, that's why it's a time plan. عشان كده it's a financial plan. أي plan معناه شنو؟ معناه خطة. Financial plan معناه خطة مالية. خطة مالية حقت شنو؟ خطة مالية حق توفير الميزانية اللي هي المبالغ المالية. الدارين على شنو؟ للموارد. يا موارد الموزعه عشان تعمل بها النشاط. يعطوا نشاط، النشاط المفروض عامل في اليوم الفلاني يوم 3 ديسمبر، يبقى القروش دي المفروض تكون جاهزه يوم 3 ديسمبر. And that's why it's tied directly to the project activities. To the project activities. The money, financial plan, tied to the project activity when it should be conducted. Which resources allocated to that activity? These resources require money to acquire them. So this is why the budgeting. So it tells you the allocation of resources and this money associated with that particular resource. And it's a monetary tool. Why it's a monetary tool? لأنه on the 3rd of December, I may check the activity conduction. هل اكتملت ولا ما اكتملت بناء على البادجت. If the budget available, the resource was available, معناه I can see the progress of the project. So I can see the progress of the budget. In this case, we call it the earn value. earn value analysis. ده جزء من الكنترول، ما هنخش عليه وقت كتير، لكن الاكاونتنج بيشتغلوا earn value في البادجت. It provides the strategic alignment مع البروجكت activity and goal. لأنه أنا البادجت should be associated with the requirements, the resources that it needs to be done or to be conducted, and the activities require a certain resources. دي الكيكة. أنا I need a fund of money should be available at the day that I will make the cake. So this is my financial plan. And I will make available of that money. طيب في المرجع في ناسا البايت فايندر الميشن 1997 هوريكم معلومات عن البادجت بتاعتها كانت كم وممكن ترجعوا تشوفوها برضه. طيب it's a strategic alignment again لأنه البادجت connect the organization with the project execution. It's related to the work breakdown structure لأنه البادجت is related to the resource allocated to each activity, which activity that we are already identified it from using the work breakdown structure. Why it's a monitoring and guiding the project لأنه I can see and identify any financial issues. Do the money will be available on the 3rd of December? لو ما available on the 3rd of December معناه there will be a problem for doing that activity. So I need to delay that activity لأنه the resources will not be available. So also it gives you an idea about how you can delay any activity because the fund required to do the activity that is not available. So when we do project budgeting, لازم تعمل early budget development. From the beginning, you have to think about the project and think about each activity and think about each resources required. So the fund will be available or not. لأنه بيسألنا سؤال، أنت لو كنت عروس هتشتري مكنة جهاز أو دراي ماشين ولا حتى تشتغلي بحبل الغسيل؟ قلت لي حسب الميزانية. That's why we need to see the available budget in order to plan for our project. Accurate reporting is very important. Avoid delays and inaccuracy in financial data reporting. تعمل estimate صح للmonetary requirements. لأنه in the future when it comes to you and here the risk and uncertainty should be considered اللي هو risk management. ما هنخش في risk management في البادجت عشان الزمن، بس لكن كيف نتكلم عن how we can anticipate the risk and uncertainty in the budget. So it's very important to think about the budget and to review the budget plan from time to time. طيب برضه نرجع ثاني سؤال بسيط على موضوع الإرث. You agreed with your partner إن شاء الله ربنا يديكم كلكم partner اللي ما عندكم إنكم you agreed to marry in 3 years. Good. طيب in 3 years you put a plan for your wedding and then you put the budget of the wedding. والله الويدنج ده هيكلفنا مثلا 1 مليون SDG اللي هو مليار سوداني. ما بيعمل حاجه صح، لكن اوكي خلينا نفكر فيه، 1 مليار جنيه سوداني. So 1 million SDG this is your budget for the wedding. طيب وقلت خلاص احنا هنعمل plan for saving this money until after 3 years then we can get married. So after 3 years, if this money will be enough or not enough, what do you think according to the situation that we are living in Sudan? This 1 million after 3 years will be enough or not enough? Not enough. معناه إذا جيتوا بعد 3 years, you will be surprised and you will be shocked that you will not be able to marry. لأنه this 1 million will never be able to complete your wedding. So in that case, we have to do a risk plan. We have to revisit our budget. نعمل شنو؟ كل ما المشروع كان زمنه طويل, the longer the project that it can take, we have to revisit the budget and to reassure about the accuracy of the report. So after 6 months, we will come again. We will check the prices of the items that we are planned for our wedding. The dishwashing machine, the washer machine, the bed, the chairs, the furniture, everything. We recalculate the financial data. عشان كده نتكلم عن accuracy of the financial data. We have to do this. عشان نشوف if there is any discrepancy, we have to improve. عشان كده بنعمل حاجة اسمها learning curve. From our experience, we can know how much will be discrepancy. The inflation, التضخم, inflation will affect the budget. احنا كان المفروض نتكلم عن الريزيرف الاحتياطي, لكن برضه I took it out of the course عشان بس ما نمشي في تعقيدات. احنا عادة حتى when you plan for your budget, you have to put a reserve. Reserve is an additional amount of money that you put in case of the increase of the prices. لو حصل أي حاجة بنسميه الcontingency reserve, الاحتياطي. أو المسكلوناتيز أو الحاجات الغير ظاهرة. الانسينز في البادجت بيسموها الانسينز, الحاجات الغير مرئيه اذا حصل اي تغيرات في الاسعار وكده. فدي بارت من الليرنينج كيرف, انه from historical data I can improve my cost estimate accuracy. انا عارفه انه الاسعار بيزيد بالكم, فممكن اتوقع انه بعد 3 سنوات نلحق ناخذ ميزانيه معقوله لعرسنا. الاسعار اللي هنا بتقول انه العرس هيكلف 1 مليون اس دي جي. So from our experience, from asking relatives who did the plan for wedding and so on, لقينا الأسعار بيزيد ب 20%. So we can put an estimate from now in it's 1 million and then it will increase by 20%, so it will be 1,200,000. لكن we put on also 10% addition as a contingency, احتياطي, reserve, ونخد 10% إضافية, يبقى هنخد الميزانيه بتاعتنا بمليون 300 مليون. مليون 300 ألف. ليه؟ لانه استفدت من شنو؟ استفدت من التست براكتس اللي انا كنت شغال عليه. So what are the methods of budgeting؟ يا هو لازم يكون, عشان كده احنا we revisit the budget. Sometimes if there is a stability, يعني السودان ما فيه stability, انت you have to consider the real situation. You don't have to overrate your prices. لأنه if you apply for a project and you put a project proposal and you overrate your prices, your project will be rejected. بالذات في البانلز وفي البيدنجز, في العطاءات. قدمت project, when I overrate the prices, it's very dangerous. You will be rejected. You will not accept. You will not be accepted. عشان كده the accurate budgeting is very important. في الفاينانس and accounting, البادجيتنج ده علم بالمناسبة. علم تخصص كامل اسمه بادجيتنج, صح؟ عندكم تخصص اسمه الميزانية, ناس اسمهم ناس الميزانية. أي شركة فيها ناس بيسموهم ناس الميزانيات. دول المخصوصين يخطوا الميزانية لأنهم بيعملوا الكوست استيميت فور ذا سكند يير. الدولة ذاتها بتعمل ميزانيتها. البادجت دي علم كبير جدا. لا ما بيجي سهل, يعني بيجي بالليرنينج كيرف, بالاكسبيرينس والستاتستكس والconsidering of the real situation. Are we living in a hostile economic situation? So the risk is very high. So I have to put a high contingency reserve. Well, it's a stable environment, so my prices will be more realistic. So I don't need to put a high price on my costing. To be realistic is very important. لأنه عادة نحن بنقدم مشاريع in a bits في عطاءات. If I couldn't be able to estimate the cost accuracy and overrate my cost budgets, so I will be rejected. Okay. So what are the methods that we can use in the budgeting? We have two methods to use in the budgeting. The first is the top-down budgeting, and the second is bottom-up budgeting. طبعا in the agile budgeting, as I told you, it's for your field already. Go and read it. So what is the top-bottom budgeting? It's it's very simple process. As I explained it using the cake example. So from my experience, I can estimate the overall high-level cost of the project based on my experience. Then I will decompose it into the smaller parts. So I start at the top and then using the work breakdown structure to identify the cost of each activity. It's like estimate. It's very quick and it reduces the risk because I will put all the contingencies in the beginning. So as Muna mentioned, if there is a risk, I will make a high contingency reserve. أخذ احتياطي كبير. If there is no risk, so I can go. So I can reduce the risk about the small task over sites instead of overrating each task individually, and then there will be an aggregate, a big overestimated cost, and I can go generally what is the contingency reserve for all of the activities. Okay, so it will be good for the base of expectations, and it will be based on the general expectations about the future. But it can get an error. لأنه في smaller task may change and you didn't consider it. They will be discount when I go to divide this task, divide this cost for the actual execution requirement for each activity. It may not going well. And the reallocation of it may be without a good accuracy division. يعني ممكن أخذ القروش أكثر في part والبارت الثاني ما عنده قروش. So it depends on your experience on that. So it's very quick, yes. لأنه I don't need to go with the small details and aggregate it to the top. بتم بستخدم this approach if the project is a routine project and already I am used to do such projects and no need to recalculate the activity-based projects. Yes, there will be a difference in the requirements, so I can estimate and approximate the changes in the budget, either by increasing or decreasing the budget. زي الكيك. And I used to do 5 layers cake, and the 5 layers cake budget was 5,000 SDG. Now I am doing 4 layers cake, but definitely the budget will be less. So I can estimate the reduction in the budget for 4,000 SDG. If I'm required to do 6 layers, so now I have to increase the budget to be 6,000 SDG. So this is from your experience. It's very quick, very fast, لكن it's better and appropriate for projects that you used to do. The second is bottom up. It's the adverse. Then I will start from the lowest level, from each activity. I will estimate the cost of each activity, and then we'll go upper and upper by aggregate. So it's about cost aggregate, aggregate all the costs until we go to the project budget. It's more accurate, yes, it's more accurate at the task level, not like the top bottom. The top bottom قلنا في some activities I will not be accurate about it because I may allocate budget more for other activities. But in the top, من the bottom up, لأنه أنا بجي من down to up, معناها my estimate for each activity is accurate لأنه أنا I estimate the cost of each activity related to each requirements, to each resources. So that's why it was more accurate. So it gives the morale of commitment. Why morale and commitment? لأنه who will do the cost for each activity? The responsible person, the department. But when the department say this is our budget, معناه they have to be committed to it. Committed معناه شنو? They have to do the budget, the activity using that budget. They be ashamed of asking extra money. So you will be committed to it. And why their morale will be high? لأنه participation. Human resource بيعرفوا الكلام ده. أنا ما أعرف human resource معنا ولا لا. المورال هم بيعملوا participation. If I am participating in the planning, participating in the decision making, I will be committed to that. So that's why it's a participative management environment. All of the employees are engaged and all of the stakeholders are engaged. Not like the top down only the executive who will do the budgeting. Okay. The risk here إنه every مشكلة ثانية إنه each task can be overrated. لأنه أنا each task I will put a risk consideration. So think about putting a risk consideration for each task. When you aggregate this risk consideration, it will overrate your costing. دي مشكلة. إنه حتكون الأسعار عالية شديد. ليه؟ لأنه لو كل activity we consider the risk individually and we aggregate the contingency for each activity. هيطلع عندنا احتياطي كبير جدا which is will overrate your costing and budgeting and your project will be not accepted. Potential for cost overestimation, and this is a problem. لأنه each task responsible person will put himself in the safe corner. ترخط نفسي في الزاوية الآمنة. معناها I will estimate the cost that I think I am feel relaxed about it. So I will increase my cost. Each activity responsible in charge person he will increase the cost عشان يقول أنا يكون عندي قروش إضافية الآن. Okay, so it may be reluctant from the upper management to cede control. It will not be easy for them. If they would like to control each activity estimate and to go to check each activity estimate, it's a very tedious job. تخيل انك انت حتقوم تعملي مراجعة لمليون activity في مشاريع ضخمة. The project management for construction of a building. شوف انت بيكون في كم activity you have to do like برج خليفة مثلا. تمام. برج خليفة in order to estimate the cost of each activity and then check the cost of each activity. How long it will take from the top management to do this? Very long time. تمام. So, it will be so difficult and relatively التوب مانجر ان هم to check every activity individually. So that's why it's convenient only if the project is for the first time. Yes, I can take over that. يعني ممكن خلاص استحمل انه انا I have to check every activity individually. لأنه it's project for the first time and I have to make sure that every costing is being done in its appropriate way. So it takes longer time than the top-down budgeting. So if you would like to compare between them, the accuracy, the more accurate is the bottom-up budgeting, definitely. Okay. The more flexible is the bottom-up. لأن هنا I can look at each activity. هنا no, I will come to the overall. Team involvement low in the top management. لأنه زي ما قالت أميرة it's authoritative budgeting معناها جاي من السلطة. It's like this, yes, it's like this Amira. يعني it comes from the top level. So it comes by obedience. جاي من السلطة, الauthority. It's البوتوم up فيها more high participation لأنه every stakeholder will be participating. التوب down budgeting it's controlled by the top management. عشان كده it's authoritative budgeting and bottom up is participative. Everyone is participating in it. It took longer time طبعا on bottom up budgeting. Okay, so if you have enough time and this project for the first time, you can go for bottom up approach. But if this project is routine project and you need a quick estimate and you don't have time, it's better to go for the top down budgeting. But try to not miss any accurate information. يعني if you're going to do approximation of the budget, try to be more realistic about that. Okay, you have to balance between the collaboration and transparency. And I need the collaboration of all the people to enhance the budget accuracy. and to increase the morale of the stakeholders when they think they are participating in the budgeting preparation. Okay, لكن you need to consider the time also, and you need to consider the overestimating that the lower level can do for their activities, and can overrate all the cost of your project. So these are the two approaches, top down or bottom up. Any question regarding the top down or bottom up؟ نبغى نمشي لآخر part اللي هو الكوست estimate. Just think about them from the basic idea. Top down, I will estimate the total budget, and then I will break it down for each activity by the top managers. Quick, depends on my experience. Bottom up, I will participate everyone involved in the project activity to estimate the cost of his activity or her activity, and then I will aggregate their numbers to the total budget. تمام؟ Any question? Move on. Okay, good. So the last part of the budgeting is the cost estimate. Okay. So what is the cost estimate? Cost estimate is forecasting the financial resource required. يعني شنو financial resource required؟ يعني transferring the requirements, the resources required for each activity into financial measures that required to complete the project task and to achieve the project objectives. So this is the cost estimate. What is the cost? That means what is the money? Money needed for what? Needed for allocating the resources, making available of the resources. Okay? عشان كده that's why when we do a cost estimate, we have to ensure the accurate allocation of the resources. لأنه I need to make this financial resource available. This fund should be available when I will have to do that task. اليوم اللي هعمل فيه النشاط ده I need to make available of the resources. والresources دي need money. So it needs fund. Some of the tasks can be outsourced. يعملوها ناس من برا الشركة. So those also, they need their payments. So I have to be ready with their payments. With the cost estimate, I can do the bottom-up budgeting. عشان كده it support an effective budgeting and financial plan. When I plan and I estimate the cost of each activity, this will contribute to provide the budget plan. And the budget plan is the fund, money, financial resource required to allocate, make available of the resources for that particular task on that particular time. That's why it's a plan. طيب when I do a cost estimate زي ما قلت لكم ترجعوا لبنات accounting عشان will be more better مني انا اصلا حتى في الحاجه دي انه how I can do cost estimate. Cost estimate, there are factors in the cost estimate. Here ATC costing, activity based costing. Any activity required resources, and these resources are what? Are direct resources, direct cost, and overhead charges, and general sales and administrative costs. طيب عندنا عموما as a project managers we have to know how to do it. لكن we will not do it. We will assign a professional accountant to do it. عشان كده don't get yourself confused later when you be a project manager. لكن you have to read, you have to know how it developed, okay? And you have to know its basic calculations. لكن all of the rough work, it will be done by the accountant, who will do the transformation of each activity, requirements, material, labor, and they have to identify the overhead charges. قريت في cost and management accounting في contribution, how we can calculate the contribution, for the overhead cost. صح؟ لما تحسبوا الكوست of goods sold minus the revenue بيديكم ال gross profit, which is telling you the contribution of paying the overhead cost. different items of the cost, generally here we have three factors in the estimate. We have the direct cost, which are the cost directly related to the use of the activity. That means the material and the machineries. Material and the machineries directly involved in doing the activities. تمام؟ نرجع للكيك like the blender and the flour, the sugar, the salt, the egg, the milk. So these are the material and the machines that directly used in the project. And overhead cost, those are the indirect expenses. And the security and the secretary بديهم salary. So they are not participated in the project. لكن هم في organization. بدفع rent for the premises. بدفع electricity bills. سميها الجنرال overhead cost like utilities, electricity, water, bills, indirect labor, security guard, secretary, general manager. So administrative expenses and executive salaries دي هي part of general sales and administrative costs اللي هي السالاريز بتاعت الاكزيكتيف اللي هم الجي ام الديبارتمنت مانجرز and so on. في بعض من الليتريتشر they combine them together كلهم مسمينهم overhead expenses or indirect cost اللي هي بعض منها indirect labor cost indirect material cost. So عشان كده زي ما قلت لكم في different standards عندنا international financial accounting standards ال IFAS مش كده ناس accounting عندهم standards مختلفة لحسابات الcost structure. فعشان كده it depends on الحسابات اللي بيدوها لهم. Yes, it's human resource department بيكون عبارة عن شنو؟ عبارة عن indirect cost, overhead cost. It should be charged. لكن with the contribution عندك حسابات يعني البرسنتج بتاعت how much overhead cost. ال overhead cost can be percentage from the direct material or from the direct labor. حسب الحسابات تحت الcost management account. From the direct material ده عادة لما يكون اسم manufacturing في التصنيع عادة لما تكون الحاجة فيها تصنيع في manufacturing the overhead expenses بيكون percentage from the direct material. ولما يكون الحاجات عندها علاقة بالسيرفيسز لأنه في السيرفيسز we are rely more on labor not like we rely on material في manufacturing. It will be percentage from the labor, direct labor. So it's a percentage. So and I don't want you to يعني to be stressed حس هنا بالموضوع ده. لكن هو جربكم لو ده كله أنا عارفه جربكم له. القصة عن مانجمنت اكاونتنج في سنة ثالثة بالتفاصيل. الحرق نسبكم دي حاجة ثانية لكن الكلام ده كله جربكم له بالتفصيل. أنا هسه ما هخش في التفصيل لأنه أنا يهمني التفصيل. أنت يهمني الأيديا بس. الأيديا إنه for example أنا I need to do a work element costing. Work element costing. Activity based costing for an item. For this item, I will get the financial information from home from the accountant persons. أقول لهم ادوني direct cost, labor and material. For each activity, what are the required material, what are the required labor. For those, I know the direct cost. This is the direct cost. معناها the labor involved directly in doing the activity. والlabor cost بيكون based on time. Like here, شوف الexample ده. اللabor, how many hours the labor will take to do the job? 10 hours. By the hour rate. الhour rate بكم بتجيبه كم في الساعة؟ $12. يبقى labor on total for that activity the painting a section of building in Khartoum هياخد $120. انه هياخد 10 ساعات to paint that section، وهو في الساعه he will be paid $12 per hour. يبقى the labor cost is 12 multiplied by 10 hours is 120. طيب what are the materials he need؟ the direct material he need هيكون داير paint، هيكون داير brushes، هيكون داير equipments. كلفت كم؟ اشتريتها من السبلاير ب $250. طيب is it a service or a construction؟ it's a service. العمل ده بيعمله ليبر، it's a service. البينتينج is a service، خدمه. عشان كده overhead it counted as a percentage of the labor. معناه انت ترجع لسنه accounting تقول له according to what policy you calculate the overhead. هيقول لك we calculate the overhead as a percentage of the labor cost or as a percentage of the material cost. What is the percentage؟ قالوا لنا the percentage is 50% of labor. 50% of labor. So what is the 50% of labor? And labor, how much we paid the labor? We paid them $120. And 50% of the labor is 1.5 في $120. Then the overhead will be calculated as $60. Now, what is the total cost of this activity؟ اللي هو العمل الليبر painting a section of a building in Khartoum هي $120 plus $250 اللي هي $370 plus $60 اللي هي $430. So these informations will be provided by the accounting team for you. You know how many hours, what are the materials needed for the activity. بعد كده accountant مع purchasing department بيدوك cost estimate for the material. مع HR بيدوك rate of payments for the labor. Then according to the rate of payment في hours that the labor will take, you will calculate the labor cost. Then according to the materials invoice from the purchasing department, according to the policy of the finance department, you will do the overhead. So this is the cost. طيب another example برضه عشان to go for it. So consider building a school in Khartoum area. طيب داير 100 ساعة من العمال. The laborers required to do 100 hours for doing the task. And they should be paid $8 per hour. So the total direct cost for the labor is $800. The material needs cement, gravel, steel bars. They being purchased by $5,000. مشيت لناس الاكاونتنج قلت لهم how much the overhead قال لي it will be estimated from the labor 40% of the direct labor. طوالي عملت 40% of the direct labor which is 800 multiplied by 1.4 لأنه 40% equal to 320. طيب قالوا لي there is a general sales and administrative cost for the executive salaries. How you estimated؟ قال لي احنا we estimated as 10% of the direct cost plus overhead cost. يبقى الاوفرهيد كوست اللي هو 320 10% من الدايركت كوست. الدايركت كوست هو الليبر بلس ذا ماتيريال. الليبر بلس ذا ماتيريال 800 بلس 5000. لا ما انت هي 40% اضافه معناها الدايركت ليبر هيكون 8000 سوري 40% يس الوان دي غلط صح كلامك عشان ناس الاكونتنت ظهروا التكرار. يعني كنت لكم ناس الاكونتنت بيظهروا لنا هنا فهي 0.4 كلامي صح 0.4. طيب خلينا اعدينا برضه عشان شفت ناس وتكون بنات الاكونتنت ديل بعدين هيكونوا هم المتابعين الكلام. لما شغلكم الحسابات شغلكم انا افتح حسابات يعني شغلكم الحسابات حسابات شغلكم ناس الاكونتنت. هي ده عدلت صح؟ هي ده عدلت. حسابات تضريباتها صح، يعني 40% من ال 800 320 صح؟ 40% من ال 800 320 تضريبات صح، تضريبات صح. طيب يبقى ده التوتال اللي هو الليبر كوست is الماتيريال كوست الاوفرهيد كوست is the general sales and administrative cost equal to 800 plus 5000 plus 320 plus 612 is 6730. Okay, so an information will be provided to you, يعني even by the accountant team. They will provide you with all the information. You will just consider the requirements of each activity. What are the labor hours needed? What are the material needed? And then the policy from the accounting department, it will help you to calculate. Okay, so this is how we can, if you would like to optimize the cost. لو عايز to reduce the cost, what I have to do? لو عايز to reduce the cost, if I would like to reduce the cost, think about the labor. If the labor could be able to do the job in less hours, that means he more efficient. Using of the materials and the machines. If we use this material, yes. How to reduce the labor, Muna? By training the labor. If you train your labor, so they can do the job in less time. If they are trained, they will use less material. They will use less material. So when reducing the use of expensive resources, for example, go to negotiate in better resources. عشان كده the procurement department is very important. Efficient use of machinery time. When you train your labor, they can use the machinery better off. Okay, so we can do incentive-based contracts. Incentive-based contracts. ما لكن اعتمد على الماشين ما غاليه، لكن الماشين في حد ذاتها غاليه، لكن انا I need to train them how to use even the machine. لانه the machine is very expensive itself. The labor is less expensive. لانه the capital of the machine is expensive. But if I train the labor to use the machine efficiently, overall I will reduce the time of the labor and it compensates the use of the machine. لكن if the employees are not trained وجبت لهم very advanced machine, they will not be able to use it. Okay, so in the cost estimate we have to be accurate about estimating the cost in each task. وهنا بيجي الدور بتاع الاكاونتنت اللي بنعينه للمشروع انه they have to know the cost estimate of each material and they have to be accurate about the invoices and forecast when I have to pay for that cost and what is the invoice available. When I need to include the labor, the material, the overhead, every type of cost. But I need to reduce the material cost by better negotiating prices from the suppliers. By train my labor, they can be more efficient in doing the job. كل ما كانوا مدربين أكثر, they can do the job better. Okay. I would like to think about these questions. Okay. Sudan is a very difficult country, right? If I need to cut the budget, I need to reduce the budget. What can I do in Sudan? Think about Sudan. And let's think about the situation that we are in Sudan. What strategies can reduce high cost drives without impacting the project quality? أنا ما عايز أخفض من جودة المشروع. I need to do everything as appropriate, but I need to reduce the cost. I need to use machinery. I need to reduce the trained employees. حطوا حاجة في بالكم. Who will be paid more, expert labor or less expert labor? High skilled labor or low skilled labor? Compensation. If you hire high skilled labor, they have to be paid high. If you hire low skilled labor, yes, they will be paid low, but the quality of their work will be very low. Okay, so this is something that challenging for the project manager. So think about any examples بعد كده from your experience. And I know part of you are being work in different projects. So think about different projects that you will take. So this is the last part. What we can take away from topic 7. We start with what budgeting. Budgeting is a financial plan that we use for allocating the organization resource plan, because we need to make available of fund at a specific particular period of time that is related to do the activity for allocating the resources. That's why it's aligned with the project activities and strategic aim. Budgeting, we have to align the project fund with the project objectives, and we have to think about the project budgeting as a tool for monitoring the project performance. We have two methods of budgeting: top down, which estimate on the experience, fast, yes, broad coverage, account for unforeseen tasks, but less detailed and accurate. Bottom up is divide the details from down of the task and aggregate the cost to the budget overall. It's more accurate and provide participation and team commitment, but it may risk if we miss any task because it's reluctant for the managers. It's very hard for them to overview each activity and monitor each activity. How we do cost estimate? Cost estimate, we have to include all of the cost elements for each activity. Direct cost for labor and material, and overhead cost. Overhead cost and GS&A, general sales and accounting and administrative cost. It can change according to the policy of the accounting department, because they can change according to the general costing of the organization. So when we consider budgeting, we need to consider uncertainty. The example of the wedding. Sorry. If you plan for your wedding with your partner, and the wedding will be after 3 years, if you start from today, estimate the budget of your wedding, after 3 years, you will find that the money is not enough. So the uncertainty, the situation, the risk, it should be considered. You have to address all the type of costs, especially the indirect costs, expenses, any complicity in the accounting estimation. You have to consider it. Sometimes we can combine between the top down and bottom up. So this is a practice that we may use to have an overall idea of the budget better, and then we can think about the critical activities and do accounting, the cost estimate for the critical activities, and again need to engage your employees. Yes, exactly. ما هو انت you choose يا ملاس depends on which project that you have in. Most probably, if your project is a routine project, you're always doing this project, and your team familiar with the project costing, so it's better to go with the top down. No need to take time again to estimate each cost activity. But if your project now is a very unique, for the first time, you never been to do such project, but now you don't know anything about it, so it's better to go from bottom up. Okay, so this is actionable insights. Develop your realistic budget. Be honest about the budget. Don't overrate, especially the risk allowance. Don't overrate it, and it will be rejected if you apply. Ensure timely and accuracy cost reporting. لأنه مرات if you miss the deadline, then you will not be able to monitor your budget. Utilize agile approach for flexibility, and I ask you to go through the agile approach. Okay, so here we finish part 2, project budgeting. So any question related to part 2, project budgeting? Right. Again, when we refer back to the textbook, there is an example of full budget. Okay, it's a budget. Look at this example. Very simple example for a whole project. They estimate all of the activities. Okay, how many units they do, a project resource estimate, and this full detailed budget, okay, for producing a short documentary film. Look how the budget is put, okay. The cost estimate and the unit of budgeting depends on the working hours, so they multiply, okay. How the task it will take, how long it will take, and how long it will take depends on the task and the available resources for that, okay. So take it. It will be very helpful to go through the numeric example in the textbook. طيب, any question before we finish this part? برضه انا advise you الحته بتاعت البادجيتنج والكوست استيميت, refer back to your accounting and finance students. They are very intellectual, I know them. Inshallah, they will help you a lot. See any mispoints on that. انت قاعده وين يا ميمنه؟ حصلوا المغرب وحصلوا العشاء وحصلوا الصبح، اليوم قاعدين في حتات مختلفه يا جماعه. عشان كده قلت لكم في الفري ما انا حاسه اوقات مختلفه. في ناس حاسه ما عندهم صلاه يا ملا، صلاتهم انتهت ببير، في ناس صلاتهم جايه بعدين، في ناس حاسه عندهم الساعه 1 صباح، عندهم الساعه 2 ظهر. فانا قلت لكم ما في بريك، يعني انا ما حقدر اعمل بريك لانه Okay, so welcome back to the last part of the project planning. We are going to go in detail about the project scheduling. So how we'll do a project scheduling. Scheduling, that means a timeline plan to do the activity. When we should do each activity, okay, and how long each activity it will take. And this is particularly related to the activity planning and the budgeting. Related to activity planning for the technical relationship, technical logical precedence relationship. Remember this term, technical precedence logical relationship between the activities. So the activities technically are related to each other. In terms of what? In terms of which one is preceding the other. يعني واحدة هي قبل الثانية السابقة لها. Which one is the successor to the others? Which activities can be conducted concurrently? ممكن نعمله في نفس الوقت. Which activities should be conducted sequentially? Referring back to our cake example. In the cake example, while the cake cooked in the oven, I can prepare my decoration. So now I can do these activities concurrently. No need to wait until the cake cooked in the oven and then start doing the decoration. No. So while the cake in the oven, concurrently I can start preparing the decoration of the cake. So this is concurrently. But sequentially, I cannot put the cake in the oven unless I mix the dry ingredients and the wet ingredients together. لو ما عملت كده I cannot put the cake in the oven. So they have to be sequential. So this is the relation between the project scheduling and the project activity plan. لأنه the time of the project it will be not accumulation. It's when I start and when I finish. Some of them they are doing concurrently, some of them are doing sequentially. So the time is not aggregation like the cost. The time is when I should finish from all of the activities together. And we will see how we calculate it. What is the time required for each activity? This depends on the resources. Remember my quiz. We have 5 dresses. Each dress will take 5 minutes to dry. How many minutes we need to finish the dry activity? Now we have to ask ourselves, what resources we use in drying the dress. I am using drying rope, حبل غسيل. How long is that drying rope? Can it takes 5 dresses on time, so I will dry all the dresses together concurrently. It will take total of 5 minutes. No, it will take only 1 dress per time. So I need 5 rounds, sequential rounds. First round, first dress, second round, second dress, third round, third dress. So now the time will be 25 minutes. So the time required to do the activity is changed depending on the budget. What is the budget? The resources available. So that's why project scheduling, it comes in the planning process after we do the budgeting. Never before that. It's after we do the budgeting, after we identify the available resources and we allocate the resources for each activity. Because even the time of the resource depends on the budget we have. الميزانية زي ما سألتكم قبل. If the lady would like to prepare her house, her home, should she buy a drying machine or a drying rope? And you said depends on her budget. حسب ميزانيتها. If she has money, so she can buy a drying machine. If she don't have any money, she will depend on drying rope. It's interrelated. You look at it, and this is the interesting thing about project, by the way. It's very interesting. You will ever come with the challenges. You need to go and back, and you need to think about items related to each other. So this topic 8, the last topic of the project planning, it's in chapter 5, scheduling the project, from page 145, 158. And specifically this topic, you have to go side by side with the reference. Side by side with the reference. Because each example is explained in detail in the reference. And I will do the explanation for you. Like for your sake knowledge, it's better to go side by side with the reference. Okay. So what we are going to know today together, we'll explain the relation between the project planning, budgeting, and scheduling. And I already did this in the beginning of my introduction. We need to explain terms very important associated with the project scheduling. We have PERT, Program Evaluation and Review Technique. And we have CPM, Critical Path Methods, networks. I will tell you, I provide you with the number of the page in the textbook. Textbooks is from 145. Okay, 145. Now we need to construct project network. And this construction is hard, is workout. We will do it together today using 2 techniques, activity on node and activity on arrow approaches. We have to identify the critical path and we calculate the critical time for the project activity network, project network. Also, it's a workout we're doing together. We have to evaluate activity slack and its implication for project scheduling. And it's also a workout. These terms are very important to identify the project time. Okay, so concentrate with me. Bring your paper, your pen, while we start to do the topic. So we'll start with introduction to project scheduling. What is project scheduling and why project scheduling comes after the project planning of activity and budgeting? Already explained it. Now, how we can develop a project schedule network? We have 2 techniques: PERT, Program Evaluation and Review Technique, CPM, Critical Path Methods. We will identify, describe each, and we will compare between them. We will have key terms associated with the PERT and the CPM. We will identify each of them from a practical hypothetical example. Okay, everything will be from example. We will construct the network, and this is step by step. You have to follow me. Very important. We have to find the critical path. Also, this is steps we have to follow. And then we have to calculate the activity slack. Slack, we will see what is the slack and why slack is important in identifying the project time. So our key terms is, what is activity? Activity is the task required by any project. And this task definitely needs resources and time. And the time required to do the task depends on the available resources, as we agree. What is the event? The event is the result of the task. So, for example, after the cake finished from the oven, what is the event? The event is a cooked cake. A cooked cake is the result. اللي هو كيكة جاهزة ده الريزلت ده الايفنت. لكن the activity is cooking the cake in the oven اللي هو شنو؟ الكيكة طبخها جوا الفرن. ده الاكتيفيتي. How long it will take? 30 minutes انا بتذكر مش كده؟ 30 ولا 40 دقيقة. الكيكة بتقعد في الفرن كم؟ 30 ل 40 دقيقة صح؟ في 180 درجة 30 ل 40 دقيقة. مش كده ولا كم؟ 40 دقيقة تمام. طيب إذا the activity is cooking the cake in the oven. This is the activity. 30 اوكي. 30 ل 40 هي من 30 ل 40 حسب نوع الفرن وحسب الفرن. في فرن كويس فرن صغير فرن كبير وتوزيع الهواء. المهم اوكي ونقول 35 دقيقة بين تسابيح ولا. So 35 minutes is the time required to do the activity which is putting the cake in the oven. لكن بعد ما الاكتيفيتي تخلص بيحصل شنو؟ The event is the result. So the result is what end? The end is a cooked cake. كيكة جاهزة. طيب the milestone is the significant process in the project. طيب what is the milestone? نرجع للكيك. In the cake we have two milestones. The first milestone is the cake base ready. The second milestone is the decoration ready. A milestone is a significant progress and event and activities. So the event, the deliverable الأول which is a milestone, the major one, is making the base. After I finish making the base, this is the first milestone. The second milestone is make the decoration items. So after the decoration items are finished, now this is the second milestone. So the milestone is a significant process. The network, and we see the network. The network is a diagram illustrating, showing the relation between the activities and the events and the dependencies between them. So it's a network like this. But I give you an idea about how it looks and to show what we are going to talk about. So this is the network. You see this? This is our network. So these are activities. And the arrows show the dependency relationship. The dependency relationship. Okay. So this is the network. The network is diagram show illustrating what? The relation between the activities, the events, and its dependencies. So A before D. I cannot do D before A. D, E, and C are concurrently. I can do C and E and D at the same time. They are not depending on others. I cannot do H except after D and C finished. How I know this? Because of the arrow. The arrow tells me H depends on D and H depends on E. So H and E are concurrently related. Okay? Very important. Okay? So E with H with D. So how I know them? I know that they are concurrently related. D, E, and C. Why? Because they شوف البوينتر كده pointer. Sorry. So D, E, and C concurrently is E and H sequentially. Okay. H depends on D and E. We'll come inshallah we'll draw this together. Don't worry. Critical path that's the longest path in the network. هنشوفه وبيمثل the project duration time, the longest path. Critical time is the total time required to complete the project of the critical path. Critical time. An activity slack is the time that I can delay the activity without affecting the project timeline. في activities I can delay them and the total project timeline cannot be affected as you will see. طيب. What's the relation between the project schedule and the activities? لا ما كنت لخبطه بين الديسيجن تري يعني يا مان ما في اشباهها شديد لانه ديسيجن تري هذه هايراريكال برضه الديسيجن تري is a hierarchical diagram لكن this is not a hierarchical diagram. This is a dependency relation network, not a hierarchical diagram. Decision tree is a hierarchical diagram. We start الديسيجن tree بتشبه الورك بريك داون structure. decision tree تشبه الورك بريك داون structure. يعني if you start with the general تمشي ل details like a tree. Start with the root and go to the branches. The same as a work breakdown structure. طيب. Why it's important to took the scheduling after the planning لأنه after I do the planning I know the activities the task and the dependency between the tasks. And budgeting I know the required resources. According to the required resources I can estimate the time of each task. Again remember 5 dresses, each dress 5 hours, 5 minutes. Then each time aligned with the task and the resource. So why it's important to do schedule? Because I can ensure timely completion. When I do project schedules, I can know when the project will finish. I can know how to facilitate the resource and do a resource optimization if I need. And this is also a part of the lesson. Here, not part of the syllabus. لكن I was eager to add it to the syllabus اللي هو resource allocation. Very important unit يعني. لكن unfortunately يعني we couldn't find any time to do it even earlier during the in-class lessons في الجامعة. لكن it's very important we can use the scheduling to do a resource reallocation and optimization. We can use it to enhance the risk management. And also this will be part will not be able to do it and how to use the 3 cost estimate to use the risk management in order to estimate a better time accuracy. We can improve the communication and accountability. Why? Because everyone will know his part and we know the relation between the other activities. So everyone will be accountable for the task he assigned to and when he should be ready with that task and why he should be ready with that task and the other task depends on him. Okay. It be part from your monitoring and control. So for example, this is the chart chart. برضو we couldn't find time to see the chart chart. لكن it will be also good to check it in the reference. Okay. Here my part from that's what we are going to do in this topic. لكن the chart chart بيشبه a timetable. We talked about the chart chart model in operations management. Chart chart is a visual description of the task in parts. And it tells you exactly the progress of the project. This is the chart chart. So each task, it will tell you the tasks which are concurrently. This is the same schedule that I just showed you. Instead of doing it in a network, we are doing it in what we call chart chart. The project will end in March. It will start in January and end in March. This is developed by the Microsoft project software. It provides you with the chart and provide you also with the network diagram. Inshallah next week لما نجي للمراجعة بوريكم مشروع أنا اشتغلته we developed the chart and the network diagram from the project Microsoft project. But chart is the bar description of the project. So at each point, for example, here I can know, did I progress? I don't progress. Did I finish? I didn't finish, and so on. So it's good model for monitoring and control, the same as for the budget. So I can check at each time phase or at each time period how much I finished from the project. Now let us come to how we can construct the networks. We have two types of networks. We have PERT, which is Program Evaluation and Review Techniques, which is developed in 1950, and it uses the probabilistic estimation of the time. Probabilistic estimation of the time. The critical path method, it uses the deterministic estimation of the time. Deterministic estimation. What is the difference between probabilistic and deterministic? In the probabilistic, I will come with a different time estimate, and then I will see the most probable time for the activity. The most probable time of the activity depends on my past experience. So it's probabilistic estimate. And the critical path method, here it uses one time estimate. What time I'm expecting that the project, estimating that, not expecting, estimating that the project will finish on. It's only one time. I can't use expectations. So I use probability calculations. ونحن حاسه ما هنشتغل البيرت، هنشتغل السي بي ام in particular. عشان كده البيرت is more applicable for projects that are big research projects. I am not sure about my time, so I need to bring more time estimates and then come with the expected value for that. A CPM commonly used in project that routine projects. I am used to do this, and I know the time required for the activity, and I used to use the same type of resources and so on, so nothing will change with me. So that's why we will debate on deterministic time. نحن هنشتغل بالdeterministic time on the CPM for that. So paired use probabilistic multiple time estimates بيكون عندي most likely time, less likely time, more likely time. Then I will come with expected value between them. Deterministic اللي هو ال CPM يكون عندي fixed one time. نحن بشتغل بس بقول لي fixed one time. هنا بشتغل I will focus with the uncertainty, and I know there is uncertainty, there is risk, because I don't know what about the future. عشان كده أي مشروع ما فيه fixed timeline. These are research and development projects. I don't know when I can finish. I don't know how long it will take. I don't know, because I'm now in research and development, so it can take longer or less. But in construction, for example, manufacturing, maintenance, I used to do this type of activities, so I am familiar with them. So it will be estimated cost. It will be one time estimate cost. But the similarities in whom they both use the network diagrams, and that's why they are not different. Both I will use network diagram. I will draw network. For both, I will use the same critical path method analysis, as I will see. Okay, but only difference between them, this used probabilistic estimate per and CPM using the critical path methods. Earlier كان كل واحد يستخدم different network diagram approach, but now they are using the same, so they are interchangeable in modern practice. حتى ما في واحد يجي يفرق بيناتهم. يعني lately no one they say this is a PERT or this CPM. They are the same in everything. They are the same in the networking. They are the same in the critical path methods analysis. They are the same in how I can identify the project time. The only difference now is when I use probabilistic data, many data to estimate the time, it's PERT. When I use only one time point, this is CPM. When I هشتغل the only one time point, which is CPM. So the key terms in PERT and CPM are general. What is the activity? Activity is the task required to do the job. So this is the activity in the network. نرجع تاني for our network. زي ما قلت لكم نحن will go practical. Okay? And I will do things in a practical point of view. So this is what we have, the diagram, the network. This is our network. So we call it network. So what is the activity? Activity is the task or set of tasks required by the job. need time and need resources. So this is the task. Task A. Task A can be painting a wall. The task. Cooking a cake in the oven is the task. Good. After the task finished, it will end up with an event. An event is an identifiable state resulting from completing the task. When I complete the task, it's an event. So after I finish cooking the cake, the result is cooked cake. This is the event. After I paint the wall, the result is wall painted. This is the result, the completion of the work. The milestone is a significant and identifiable event, marking. So in the cake, we have two milestones. عندنا نقطتين محوريات. Making the cake base and making the decorations. Those are two milestones in the wedding cake. Milestones are the major identifiable event. So when I finish making the cake base, this event is a milestone. When I finish all the decoration elements, this event is a milestone. لأنه it's a major point. What is the network? The network is the diagram representing all of the relationship between the activities. It's a diagram. It's a diagram showing the dependencies. A, D depend on A, E depend on A, C depend on A, F depend on B, I depend on F, H depend on D and E. Why H depends on D and E? لأنه H فيها two arrows. Arrow comes from D and arrow comes from E. So this is the network. Right. In this network, we have a specific path. Path is a connection between two events in the network. This is the path. So this is the path. ADG. It's a path. Path from ADG. J. Finish. A path. This is a path from start to finish. So I can go from start to finish by this path. And A, D, G, J, finish. So this is a path. Another path. A, start, A, E, H, J, finish. Another path. Another path. A, C, F, I, finish. Path. So the path is the connection of activities. Connection of activities. What is the critical path? From these paths is the longest path time. The longest path time. The longest path is the critical path. Another description, characteristics for the critical path, all the activities. Remember this. All the activities in the path has no slack time. We cannot delay them. Has no slack time. We cannot delay them. And I hope you are writing with me notes. اكتبوا note. Critical path ده مهم جدا. It's the path from the start to the finish with the longest time will take. هياخد أطول زمن. So from here, for example, أنا عندي path A, D, G, J. How long it will take? لاحظوا الرقم مع activity, the time to do the activity. Time required to do the activity. So how long it will take from the start to the finish using this path? هعمل له highlight. This path.
18.
A, 4, 5, J. أخذ مني 5, 4, 9, 5, 14, 4, 18. تمام. عندي another path اللي هو A بعده E, H, J. هياخد another time. A, 5, 6, 11, 6, 17, 4, 21. I will check the other path. A, C, 3, 4, 6. 5 plus 3, 8 plus 4, 12 plus 6, 18. هاخد another path. آخر واحد. B, F, I. B4 plus 4, 8 plus 6, 14. Which path is the longest? اللي هو أخذ 21. This is the critical path. اللي هو A, E, H, J. زي ما هنشوف بعدين. هنحل المثال ده بعدين in detail. But I would like you to know the critical path is the path that had the longest time. Another characteristic إنه any activity in this path we call it critical activity. Any activity in this path is the critical activity. Why it's a critical activity? Because if I delay it, the project will be delayed. If I delay, the project will be delayed. So these are the critical activities. So here we check the diagram. As I told you, page 150. This is the question that أنا ما أعرف اسمه منو. الإيميل بتاعها بتي تسفامي ميري. تسفامي.
Yeah, this is me, Mary. Yeah,
Mary. Okay. أنت أخذت إيميلك. أكتب اسمك يا ميري عشان نعرف. So every diagram with the page number. حتى ده figure كم؟ figure 510 page 150. هذا اللي جوزاته. figure 510 150. So when I refer for anything يا Mary, you will find it in the page number. Okay, so don't worry. If you would like to follow, you will follow.
Okay, good. Okay.
So this is the visual representation.
Okay.
We check it. Yes, we check it. A activity. A, C, A, D, G, J, Qatar. All of this we call it network because it shows all activities together. And I will do it يا منى بعدين في الإكزام. I need to check to you to know the terms. What are the terms? Like in how we calculate it, this is something we need to do بعدين. But it's just only to know how it looks like the activities. Now, how we construct the network? يلا هنا be careful with me. How we construct the network? We have two ways to construct the network. The first is activity on node, and the second is activity on arrow. What is the difference between those two? The activity on node, from its name, the node will represent the activity, like this. This is the node. This is the node. This square is the node. So the activity is written inside the node. Okay? Inside the node is the activity. Okay? It's inside the node. The activity on arrow, the second one. Okay? The activity on arrow. This we call it the activity on arrow. The activity is on the arrow, on the top of the arrow. A on the top of the arrow. By the way, this is the same network. This is the same network. وهنشتغلها in details. Don't worry. I would like you to see the difference. Here we put the activity on arrow. That's why we name it activity on arrow. On arrow. For the same network, this is the same network, this one, the same network, this one. They are the same network, by the way. But here the activity in the node, on the node. Right. Here the node is a square, right? The node is a square. And here the node is a circle. Write note with me, and I told you to write note. You will find everything this in the reference. Like in what I am saying, write note about it. And I will not repeat that. The activity on arrow, the activity will be on the arrow, and the node represents an event, the end of the activity. So this is the activity. When it's finished, there is an event. I put the cake on the oven. After it's finished, the event is cooked cake. But here, activity on node. This is the activity on the node. The node is a square or rectangular. عشان كده لما نقول لكم draw on activity on arrow, you have to use arrow and circles. Arrow and circles. Activity on node, you have to use arrow and square. Arrow and squares. The square or the rectangular represent the activity, while arrow represent the direction of the relationship. While in the activity on node, the arrow represent the activity and the direction. Show the activity and the direction. And the circle show the event. نقولها تاني بالعربي. النشاط على العقدة activity on node. النشاط داخل النود، والنود بتكون مربعة أو مستطيلة، والسهم بيوري اتجاه العلاقة. أما في الأكتيفيتي أون أرو، النشاط على السهم، النشاط بيكون مكتوب فوق السهم، والعقدة النود بتكون دائرية وبتمثل الحدث، النهاية بتاعة النشاط، منتهى إليه النشاط. So we have two ways to construct. Activities are nodes, relationships are arrows. Activity on node. Activity on arrow. Activities are arrows. Node represent events. Okay. So, how it looks like, I showed you how it looks like. B, the activity on arrow, on node. Figure 5.3, page 147. Okay. Activity on arrow is figures 5, 6, 5, 5, 5, 4 here, 5, 4, 5, 5, 5, 6, as you see. Okay. On page 148. Okay, we will come to the examples in detail. Okay, how we can draw it. Right. And I will not go to the steps as it's written. تمام. لكن I will explain it in the hypothetical example. Okay, and I will do the examples with you one by one. طيب. لكن let us compare between them. بعد كده I will do the hypothetical example. Activity or not more simple, as you will see. More simple as it draws. Okay, nothing neat, no complication. With the most popular, أكثر واحدة هسه الآن مشهورة and they use it activity or not. Okay, لأن it focus on the activity, not the event. We know that, as we see, we focus on the activity. So we need to know the activity, and we know the activity and the relationship between the activities. So it's simple, as we will see now when we construct it. When we got the activity on arrow, it shows both the task and the event in details. This is the advantage of it. It can use what we call dummy activities, and I will teach you what are the dummy activities. Dummy activities are activities without resources and time. Without resource and time. We use it just to simplify the drawing of the activity on arrow. It's more complex to draw, especially for larger projects. عشان كده حاسة when you go to the real life, you will find more people using activity on node, not activity on arrow. Activity on node, not activity on arrow. So it's still valuable لأنه it showed the events. When you concentrate about the events, what is the event after the activity finished, it will be appropriate to use the activity on arrow, not on node. Right. Let us go for the example. Okay, let us go for the example. Okay. Are you ready? Your pens, your papers. So the example is table 5.1. Table 5.1 here on page 149. 149. So this is table representing what? The activity plan. Activity plan. But after we finish the activity planning, we end up with these tasks. And the task and its preceder. What is the preceder? The preceder is the previous task. Which task is before it? So look at A. A, it's a beginning task. Why it's a beginning task? Because there is no any task before it. R is the start task. No preceder. No preceder. That means it's a start node. Start task. B, it's also a start task. No preceder. Okay. While C D E E it's a middle task لأنه عندها preceder. لاحظوا C it's a preceder for F. D عندها preceder and it's a preceder for F. E it has a preceder and it's a preceder for G. While G has no successor. ما في واحدة بعد G. Any activity depends on G? No. F depends on C and D. So C and D not an ending activity. G depends on E. So E is not an ending activity. While F it's an end activity because no task depends on F. G it's an end activity because no task depends on G. طيب النشاطات يا نشاطات بداية يا وسط يا نهاية. بداية وسط نهاية. بداية لما يكون النشاط ما في أي نشاط قبله. A دي ما في نشاط قبلها. أول نشاط لأنه ما في أي نشاط قبل A. A ما بتعتمد على أي نشاط لأنه ما عندها بريسيدر. البريديسر ده اسمه السابق. B ما عندها بريديسر السابق. يبقى A و B نشاطات أولية. طيب C ما نشاط أولي لأنه عنده نشاط قبله اللي هو A. D ما نشاط أولي عنده نشاط قبله B. E ما نشاط أولي عنده نشاط قبله B. F ما نشاط أولي عنده نشاط قبله C و D. G ما نشاط أولي عنده نشاط قبله E. طيب هل في نشاط نهائي ولا نشاط وسطي؟ إذا كان نشاط نهائي معناه ما في نشاط بيعتمد عليه. طيب نشوف هل C ده في نشاط بيعتمد عليه؟ أيوه F. While F depend on C, that means C it's a middle activity. نشاط وسط وليس نشاط نهائي. D any activity depends on D. هل في نشاط بيعتمد على D? Yes, which is F. يبقى D ما نشاط نهاية نشاط وسطي. E any activity task depends on E. Yes, G depends on E. يبقى E not a finished activity. It's a middle activity. نشاط وسطي. طيب F any activity depends on F? No. يبقى F it's an end activity. It's an end activity. G any activity depends on G? No. يبقى G it's an end activity. From where we bring this? From our action plan. هنا from the activity planning. In the activity planning, we know the relationship between the activities. We know that A is a start and C comes after A from the logical dependency. عشان كده قلنا في علاقة بين السكيدولينج والاكتيفيتي بلاننج. هنا خدتناكم ليهم بس بشنو؟ بمسميات عشان تكون واضحة بالنسبة لكم. يعني this is project for survey of land. So I will start task A with survey of land. No precedent. هبدأ بالمسح بتاع الأرض. No precedent. Then obtain the permits. أخذ الموافقات. Obtain the permits بتاع العمل. أخذت الموافقات من الجهات المعنية. No predecessors. وما عندهم علاقة ببعض. عملت مساحة للأرض. عملت لها check. And then I obtained the permits. أخذت الموافقات. Then the foundation work. بديت أعمل الفاونديشن. الفاونديشن بيبدأ عمله بعد شنو؟ بعد العمل المساحي يخلص. Assemble the material. بعد ما أخذت الموافقات بديت أعمل شنو؟ أجمع الماتيريال. Primary testing. بعد ما خلصت البريمس عملت الاختبار الأولي للمواد. Final assembly. بعد ما خلصت السي او دي عملت الفاونديشن ورك واسمبل ذا ماتيريال، عملت الفاينل اسمبلي. الفاينل انسبكشن بعد ما عملت البريمري تيستنج عملت الفاينل انسبكشن. This just names عشان تسهل لكم عمليات. اوكي طيب خلونا نشتغل الرسم بتاعه. انا ما حرسم، تابعوا معايا الرسم، لكن كل حاجه قاعده بالتفاصيل، يعني every detail here is in the text but instead of reading the text أنا I will do it one by one for you. واضحة الوايت بورد ولا ما واضحة؟ واضحة الوايت بورد.
واضحة.
Good. يلا خليكم معي step by step how we can draw the two networks. هي بفتح في ما اعرف اختفت معلومة من عندي. هي غريبة. أول مرة. طيب طيب خلونا نبدأ. يلا be with me please. طيب هنرجع نعمل الجدول، مذكرة الجدول بتاعنا التاسك. طيب how will start بactivity on node. What is the activity on node? Activity on node that means we have circle ولا square. We have square and arrow. Square and arrow. So how will we start? I will start with start point. Start point. بعدين in the exam إن شاء الله, I don't know how it can be online or not online. I think all in all we have to draw a fine drawing. So كده you have to clear your diagram with the pen. يعني if you even you have to do it using a pen. طيب. Going back to our table. So in the table we have this table, and I will copy the table just to you. In the A, B, C, D, E, F, G. دي الاكتيفيتي. ده البريديسر. A ما عندها بريديسر، B ما عندها بريديسر، C عندها A، B، F عندها C and D and D. Okay, good. طيب how will do the drawing. زي ما قلنا احنا شغالين activity on node. So that means I will start with a box which is start. The first activity is A. The first activity is A. I will come with arrow from the start to square node, which is A. I finished A. I will start with arrow from the start. Then I will draw a square for activity A. I will write the activity name, the letter inside the box. B. B, I will do the same. Draw an arrow. At the end of the arrow, there will be a box. B. Inside the box, I will do B. I finished B. C comes after A. C comes after A. So, I will draw a line from A. لأنه C comes after A. معناها from A. At the end of the arrow, there is a box C. Now to go to D. D comes after B. So from B, there is arrow. And there will be D. لأنه D comes after B. Then I will go to E. E, its predecessor is B. معناها E comes after B. معناها في another arrow from B, another arrow from B, another box which is E. another arrow. لاحظوا الارو عنده head وعنده tail. التيل بيبدأ من الاكتيفيتي وبينتهي الهيد في النيو اكتيفيتي. لازم الهيد يكون واضح. بي اجي بعد ذاك activity F. F. How many predecessors for F2, C and D? معناها there is two arrows. There is two arrows. Arrows from C و arrow from D end with a box, and this box representing F. Why two arrows? لأنه F عندها two activities. Activity C and activity D. Arrow from activity C and arrow from activity D. The last one is G. G depends only on E. So only one arrow from E, which is G. Okay. Did I finish all the activities? Yes, I finished all the activities. Okay. Which activities are not linked to the arrows before and after? Indeed, C linked to F, D linked to F, E linked to F. But F and G, they don't have any arrows after them, صح؟ هقوم أعمل last box here وأسميه end. end. نستحول كده بصورة جميلة. اوكي. نعمل بوكس نسميه end. end ده I will bring arrow from the last activities F and G, because F and G are end activities. No activity depends on them. A and B are start activities because no activities before them. G and F are end activities because no activities after them. So this is, we have to name it. هنقول عليه ده schedule network diagram في الكتابة هنا صعبة لي كده for project A, B, C, for example, for XY. Okay, so it's the way we draw activity or not. سهلة, very simple. We start from the earliest activity until to the end. أمشي activity. ببدأ بصندوق أو بوكس لأنه activity on node. activity on node معناها ببدأ بصندوق وسهل. ببدأ بstart point node. بعمل عليها سهم لكل activity أولى A then B C comes after A. أطلع سهم من A وأعمل C. D comes after B. أعمل سهم من B و D. E comes after B. أعمل سهم من B و E. F comes after C and D. C and D معناها two arrows. Arrow from C and arrow from F. From D for F. أعمل box F. D comes after E only. معناها G box after E. يبقى this is the end لأنه F and G ما في أي activity after them. So they are an end activity. So ممكن نقول A and B. A and B are start activities. ليه start activities؟ لأنه no activity for them. أما F and G are end activities. لأنه ما في activity after them. أما E, D and C are middle activity. لأن هم they are in the middle. Okay, clear؟ سهلة مش كده؟ Very clear, very simple, and this is the advantage of activity on node. It's very simple to draw. Forward steps. Okay? أي سؤال؟ Any question؟ تمام؟ هتلقوا this diagram also in the reference page 147. Okay, in details, in narrative, and the diagram also shows. Okay? تمام؟
يا مستر يعني مثلا الاكتيفيتيز اللي بيكونوا parallel او قصاد بعض زي السي والدي والاي والبي ممكن نعملهم concurrently يعني في نفس الوقت.
ما هم اصلا concurrently. هنعمل في نفس الوقت. We can do it on the same time. You can do A and B at the same time if you have the resources طبعا. If you have the resources. So you can do them on the same time. You can do C, D and E on the same time. You can do A and B on the same time because not like you cannot do F at the same time of C and D because F required finishing C and D. So after I finish C and finish D, then I will do F. So I will not be able to do F. Okay? I will not be able to do F unless C finished and D finished. No? Then G is depends on E. Like I can do F and G concurrently. I can do D and G concurrently. D, C, G they can do concurrently. ما عندهم علاقة ببعض. ممكن أعمل C و D و G في نفس الوقت. لكن ما ممكن أعمل G و E في نفس الوقت. لأنه D وال E معتمدين على بعض فما ممكن. لكن ممكن اعمل الجي والاتش، الجي والاف في نفس الوقت. جود. اشتغلنا في الاوبريشن. ايوه، ما اشتغلنا في الاوبريشن يعني يا جماعه، اشتغلنا نتورك، اشتغلنا في الاوبريشن، لكن هنشتغل عليها مور كالكوليشنز يعني، هنشتغل عليها بعد كده الكريتيكال بارت ميثود اناليسيس والستاك اناليسيس. طيب جود، خلاص امسح دي عشان نشتغل اكتيفيتي اون نوت. امسح دي نشتغل اكتيفيتي اون نوت. جود. طيب نفس التيبل عندنا الاكتيفيتي، كان عندنا A B C D E F G the same activity. وعندنا preceding the relationship. A is the start, B is the start, C depends on A, D depends on B, E depends on B, F depends on C, and G depends on E. Okay. Now I need to draw activity on arrow. Activity on arrow, that means circle or arrow. So it's a little bit complicated. عشان كده be with me step by step. It's a little bit complicated. Be with me step by step. Sorry. Right. The circle is event. والarrow is activity. For drawing activity on arrow, you have to have pencil and erasers. ماذا activity on node? Activity on node I can use pen directly, so I will not get error. لكن في activity on arrow, and I need pencils and erasers. Remember this. So I will start with a circle node. Circle, which is the start. What is the first activity? A. Activity is the first activity, no predecessors. معناها it comes from the start. How I can draw the activity on arrow? I will draw an arrow, and end of the arrow I will make a circle. Each activity how I will draw it on activity on arrow. كيف حرسم أي نشاط في activity on arrow. I will draw a line, arrow, and then I will draw a circle at the end. I will write the activity on top of the arrow. Okay, and for just clarification, I will not leave it. I will write the activity also at the end in the node. لأنه this can represent the event. So we know that a circle represents the event. That means after I finish A, this will be the event of A finished. So but for the sake of drawing, I will write it. لكن همسحها بعدين. Later on أنا همسحها. I finish A. Actually go to B. I will do the same for B. B also start from the start. I will draw an arrow. I will draw a circle after the arrow. طيب this represents B, and this is the event of B. I will keep the بعدين. I will keep the activity name on the arrow, لكن I will erase the inside in the circle. And just for the drawing. Then I will go for activity C. C comes after what? After A finished. What is the node representing finish of A? This node. هشوف النود اللي فيها A finished. This A finished, right? So this A finished. So C is start after the event of A finished. So this is the event of A finished. So C will be also line arrow with the circle. Arrow with the circle. The arrow represents the activity. The circle will represent the event of C. C finished in this year. ده معناها العقدة دي بتمثل نهاية النشاط C. خلصت C. أجي لدي. Please mute your mic عليك. فاتح المايك بتاعك. Please mute your mic. عايشة. Please mute your mic يا عايشة. لو سمحتي بس. Okay. Now we go to D. I will do the same. D comes after B. معناها بتبدأ من الإيفنت of B. بعد ما B خلصت B خلصت هنا. تمام. في D. معناها عندي also arrow. وبينتهي بسيركل. الارrow representing D. والسيركل represent the event of D. The end of D. هعمل D صغير جوا. عندي E. E also comes after B. معناه عندي برضو arrow جديد من نهاية B الايفنت بتاع اللي هو E. There will be a circle جواه E. تمام؟ It's clear now مش كده؟ عايز اعمل F. F need an event اسمه CD. F start after C and D. لكن ما عندي event اسمه CD. Do I have any event اسمه CD? Do I have any event اسمه CD? I don't have an event اسمه CD. No. So what I will use a technique من الدمي activity. I will use a dummy activity. I will copy C لكن with a dummy activity. Dot line. I will copy D. كأنه بعمل copy من D وcopy من C في a new event. This is a dummy activity. How I will copy them? Using a dummy activity. نشاط وهمي. نشاط ما موجود لكن أنا invented. Invented ليه؟ لأنه أنا I need an event اسمه CD. فهاخد copy. I will take copy from C. I will take copy from D. I will keep C زي ما هي ودي زي ما هي. بس هاخد منهم copies. هاخد منهم شنو؟ copies. أخذت الكوبي سي دي. أخذت copy from C وcopy from D using a dummy activity. This also for the sake of the drawing. ما عنده أي علاقة بالtechnical relationship. يعني this activity is not exist. Technically in realistic not exist. I use it only for the drawing. A dummy activity is used only for the drawings. طيب after بيجي عندي event اسمه C and D. Now I can go to do F. لأنه F need an event اسمه CD. So I copied C and I copied D to bring an event اسمه CD using a dummy activity dotted line activity. Dummy activity no resources no time. لأنه هو أصلا no exist. Only we use it for the sake of drawing. عندنا F. Event F. Last event اللي هو last activity G. G need an event اسمه E. Is it here? Yes, it's here. موجود؟ Yes, موجود. يبقى معناه طوالي I will draw a line اسمه G. وبينتهي بسيركل G. طيب did I finished؟ yes I finished. طيب المفروض اخلص بشنو؟ اخلص برضه ب end node. يبقى هعمل node at the end اسمها end. طيب ال end node المفروض يحصل شنو؟ هل ال f في اي حاجه بعدها؟ no. معناها ال f دي كانها it will continue to end. وال g it will continue to end. برضو I use a dummy activities just for the sake of the drawing. لكن am I keeping these dummy activities؟ ده هنجاوب بعد شوية. طيب at this step everything is clear. في أي سؤال until this step؟ any question؟ we start with a certain node. Start. We start draw a line and a circle. Line and a circle for each activity. A انتهت بإيفنت دايرة A. B انتهت بإيفنت دايرة B. We go to C. C after the event A. Is there any event A? Yes, there is an event A. So I started C and end with event C. D need an event B. Is it any event B? Yes. So I did B. After that D. F داير event اسمه CD. There is no any event اسمه CD. بس عندي event اسمه C وعندي event اسمه D. قمت عملت شنو؟ I took copy from the event C and I took copy from the event D. How I did so? Using the dummy activity. بيجي عندي a new event CD. I end with an arrow F. Last activity G comes after E. طيب. Did I finish? Yes, I finished. طيب. Anything I need to add? Nothing I need to add. So I have the end node. Then I bring the dummy activities. طيب. Do I need to keep these dummy activities or I need to remove them? How I know this? The concurrent activities rule. What is the concurrent activities rule? Are these activities are concurrently or are these activities are related? So how I can know this? F and G. F and G. I will start from backward. هبدأ من هنا وارجع. هستخدم المساحة تاني. طيب. Do F and G. These are dummy activities. صح? These are dummy activities. The first dummy activity represents F. The second dummy activity represents G. طيب السؤال. Are F and G end at the same point? Yes, they are ending at the same point. Are they start from the same event? هرايكم شنو؟ F and G. Are they start from the same event? F start from C and D. G started from E.
No.
Are they started from? No. So this is the rule. If the activities are end in the same event but are not started in the same event, no need to the dummy activity. معناها no need to this dummy activity. Why no need for it? لأنه هم they are yes end with the same node لكن they are not end in the same node. So directly we can remove this dummy activity and we can directly reach the end node. No need for the dummy activity. Why no need for the dummy activity? Because F started from CD and G started from E. They end in L? Yes. Can I remove the dummy activity? Yes, I can remove it لأنه there is no need for the dummy activity. طيب. نرجع هنا في C and D with F. طيب. This is copying C and this is copying D. طيب. Are they end with the same node? Yes, they are end in the same node. C and D. لكن are they start from the same node? رأيكم شنو؟ C start from which node?
A.
Which A? Exactly. ودي started from which node? B.
B.
B. Are they having the same node start? No. So do we
No.
need the dummy activity? No, we don't need the dummy activities. So we can erase the dummy activities. So we can erase this activity and the node, and we can merge between the two nodes. So C can finish in this node directly, and D can finish with the same node directly. That's why I told you that you need pencil and erasers. So any dummy activity that in the backward we need to check? Any dummy activity?
No.
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 So no need for any dummy activities. And now the network is clear. Like what I have to do? I have to erase now these small letters and just I put them for the sake of drawing simplification. Now I will start from left to right. Now from left to right, number the nodes. Start the first activity A, node 1. This is node 2. This is node 3. This is node 4. So I will start the numbering from left to right, up, down, up, down. 1, 2, 3, 4, end. So this is the same network for the same project using activity on node. أصعب مشكلة activity on arrow. More complicated, right? More complicated مش كده؟ ولا أسهل؟ رأيكم شنو؟
الأولى
أصعب. complicated.
الأولى أسهل.
الأولى أسهل. ما this one of what just we mentioned here. إنه pause.
نحن ما كان عندنا دومين اكتيفيتيز من جي واف صح؟
ما احتاجنا له.
ليه ما احتاجنا؟
لأنه الاثنين ما احتاجنا له لأنه القاعدة بتقول كالآتي. هل هم concurrent activities ولا same activities؟ إذا هم بيبدوا بنقطة واحدة وبينتهوا في نقطة واحدة لازم احتاج نظام activity عشان افرق بيناتهم لأنه هم ما activities واحدة. إذا هم بيبدوا من نفس النقطة وبينتهوا في نفس النقطة بحتاج نظام activity. لكن إذا بيبدوا في نقاط مختلفة وبينتهوا في نفس النقطة ما بحتاج نظام activity. ف F and G, F start from CD و G start from E. Both end at end. لو لاحظنا الشكل هنا pause هنا go to end finish. لكن no need for the dummy activity. No need. لأنه F start from this node و G start from this node. وهم بينتهوا في finish yes لكن no need for the dummy activity. نفس الحكاية C and D. C start from D و D start from D. ف they can be merged. تمام؟ هنا وراك إذا استخدمنا dummy activity هنبقى كأنه D عملنا لها copy في 4 وبعد كده من 4 عملنا copy في 3 لكن no need for it. No need for it. ليه؟ لأنه D أصلا start from 2 و C start from 1. So no need for this dummy activity لأنه we can merge between 3 and 4. لكن sometimes in the projects we do it لأنه عندنا interest في event 4 أصلا مرات كده. Some of the activities technically they do this. ودي part of the advantage of the activity on node. إنه الactivity on node إنه it tells you about the project details, events and activities. فأنا I may put node as an event purposefully لأنه أنا I am interested in that node. Okay.
يعني هنكنسل السي دي والاف وجي.
هنكنسل الدمي اكتيفيتي ما محتاج له. حسن المشروع ده ما محتاج فيه دمي اكتيفيتي. المثال اللي هنشتغل ان شاء الله الاسبوع الجاي هيحتاج فيه دمي اكتيفيتي. هوريكم ليه هتكون واضحه انه we need a dummy activity for the next example. هو اصلا معمول في المرجع activity on arrow this one. ده هنشتغل ده في الاسبوع الجاي عشان حاسس الزمن جه الساعه 9 صح؟ 4 ساعات تمت انا ما اقدر افوت اكتر من كده.
ايوه
فنكست ويك هناخد المثال ده
Well,
ان شاء الله. هناخد المثال ده وهنرسمه في الاول. حاولوا تشتغلوا عليه انتوا. اوكي try to do it ان شاء الله at your own for next week. In the book it's done by activity on arrow, activity on node. تمام. In the book it's done by activity on node. هنشتغل عليها how to find the critical path and how to calculate the slack. لكن انا I will draw it for you ان شاء الله برضه using activity on arrow. Okay, to see how the dummy activity can be used in these projects. So dummy activity sometimes we use it and we need to keep an event as a milestone and we are interested in that event. لكن normally this depends on the project manager perspective about the project. تمام. فمرات احنا بنستخدمه عديد انه يكون في dummy activity عايزينها تكون موجوده. In particular لانه بالنسبه لنا an event, a very important event, and we need to separate it and to study it. ودي مثل activity on node زي ما قلنا. Activity on node it provides you with a dummy activity and it tells you about the task and the event in detail. So you may need to keep the event along with the task. طيب and I think it's quite enough for today. Okay, then to not put more pressure. أصلا next week عندنا only one topic اللي هو project termination إن شاء الله. لكن we will continue with finding the critical path and we'll see how we calculate it also, and we'll see how we can understand the activity slack and calculate the activity slack. Also it's a practical يعني the same as this. Okay, any question up to this point? Any question? Okay.